What if Naruto was Madara and Hashirama's grandson? Let's go. I will have to do some explaining before we start, so let's get right into it. Minato is a full Uchiha. After the last battle in the Valley of the End, a young Uchiha woman brings Madara to heal him at her house because Madara was fatally wounded. She cares for him, they fall in love, and after a few years, a son is born. He has blonde hair and was never able to unlock the Sharingan for some reason. Madara wanted an heir, desperately, but she couldn't let this boy that can't even unlock a Sharingan let him carry the Uchiha name, especially that of Madara Uchiha. Madara then decides to knock Minato out. Madara then uses a Kodomatsu Kami ability with his Sharingan, which I'm going to say he can do in this what if, which makes Minato believe his parents were killed, but told him to go to the hidden leaf village before they died. Madara then body flickers and brings Minato to just outside the leaf village, drops him off, and leaves. Kushina is just going to be Hashirama and some other senju's daughter, making her a full senju and Minato a full Uchiha. We cut forward to 20 years later. Screams can be heard from a cave near the hidden leaf village. It sounds like a baby. This is Naruto. Zetsu informed Madara that Minato, his child, is having a child himself. Minato orders Obito to capture Naruto and bring the child to him, to perhaps have an actual heir. Naruto is captured and Obito wants to make the same deal, as in canon, Kushina for the baby. But Obito is lying. Obito throws Naruto in the air, but without anyone noticing, Obito created a shadow clone of Naruto and body flickered Naruto to a safe place. Then Obito quickly snatched Kushina and unsealed the nine-tailed beast. While the nine-tailed wreaked havoc on Konoha, the village hidden in the leaf, Obito placed Naruto near the nine-tails, perceiving the possible outcomes that could take place, using his Mangekyo Sharingan, but they all ended in the same way. Minato and Kushina die, and the nine-tails is sealed inside of Naruto, but at the very end, when Minato tries to seal half of the nine-tails inside of him, Obito interferes and seals the entire tail beast into Naruto, then kills the extremely weakened Kushina and Minato. Obito is now carrying baby Naruto on his way to Madara's lair, but Naruto got hurt on the way as some Anbu that were ordered by Hiruzen, the third Hokage, were sent to bring back the baby, as it is now Jinchuriki and an important asset to the Leaf Village. Once Obito arrives at Madara's hideout, Naruto is on the brink of death since he was scraped by a kunai, and for a newborn, that is a fatal wound. Madara then gets really mad at Obito, but then takes out some Hashirama cells and put them into Naruto, knowing he also has senju, meaning he will have a much easier time absorbing Hashirama's cells. Madara also put some of his own cells into Naruto to help him heal his wounds and develop more of the Uchiha genes, which later on in the future would definitely help him evolve his Sharingan. We cut forward some time. Naruto is about 3 years old now, and Madara doesn't want to waste any time of Naruto's youth, kind of like my guy. So he started Naruto's training, but he only started Naruto's muscle and physical training, so mostly just taijutsu, for now. After another 2 years, Naruto has now almost mastered Madara's taijutsu style since he has nothing else to do every single day except to train with Madara and perfect his skills. And he has been doing this for 2 years straight, without a day of rest, and having Madara's cells inside of Naruto, as well as Hashirama. This definitely helped him progress much faster than any infant could, ever. Naruto now will start learning his first jutsus and chakra control. We cut to another 2 years later. By this time, Naruto can effectively use most fire-style jutsu and has even started using some wood-style jutsu, though it's hard since Madara doesn't really have any practice over them, so he's a little bit unsure of how he can train Naruto to use wood-style. But slowly but surely, Naruto is making progress, even if it's just from experience and curiosity. Now is a special time because Naruto is learning some of Hashirama's legendary jutsus like the wooden dragon jutsu and the wood golem jutsu, basically Hashirama's strongest jutsus. Naruto has also unlocked the fully matured 3 Tomoe Sharingan, which greatly decreased the amount of time it took to learn new techniques and master them. Something I should have mentioned but didn't is that Naruto already became the 9-tailed Jinchuriki. Well, after that, Madara decided Naruto should become the Jinchuriki of every tailed beast and ordered Obito to gather every single tailed beast. It took Obito almost 2 years to capture all tailed beasts, and then Madara sealed all of them into Naruto using his Rinnegan ability. Even though it cost quite a bit of chakra, it was worth it, as the results were phenomenal. And by the way, yes, I'm going to say that Obito did steal every tailed beast. Alright, the villagers simply weren't prepared. There was a great shinobi war not too long ago, the Hokage had just died, and everything was weird and in a frenzy, so I'm gonna say that it was able, because no village had the resources to protect themselves. Anyways, moving on. Once Madara saw Naruto and Naruto's immense power, all he wanted was to have Naruto as his heir, and so Project Infinite Tsukuyomi was stopped, never to be continued. It took Naruto almost a full year to master Hashirama's legendary wood-style jutsus, especially those two mentioned. Madara actually backstabbed Obito and killed him during this time. Then he took some of Obito's cells because Obito's cells were quite powerful for it. In his body, some Hashirama cells as well as his own have merged, making even more powerful cells that have merged and matured in Obito's body, becoming stronger and stronger for many years. Madara used these cells to inject them into Naruto, making him even stronger, and making him able to use wood-style, sharingan, and fire jutsu all at the same time, much better in combination. As now his Hashirama and Madara cells were maturing and were not, well, trying to destroy each other as they were earlier. This made Naruto's training much easier and greatly improved his health as he never got sick again and healed much faster, even faster than before. It was almost like a miracle. Madara is now sparring with Naruto. We cut to a flashback. Whilst training, Naruto goes unconscious, but he wakes up to a gigantic prison cell in a sewer-looking place, with what looks like the 9-tailed beast inside of it, each with a different amount of tails. "Ah, get out of here!" Shukaku yelled, the beast with only one tail. "Shut up, Shukaku. You should be nicer to him. He's only a little kid," Matatabi said. "She's right," Son Goku says. "Are you guys the Biju? The tailed beast?" Naruto asks. "That's right," Matatabi responds. "What are your guys' names?" Naruto asks. Now he has everyone's attention. They look at him surprised, as some of them haven't revealed their names to humans in decades or even centuries. No one ever bothered to ask. They're always just put off as a demon, and that's it. They start giving their names, one after the other. "Shukaku," says the first one. "Matatabi, Isubu, Son Goku, Kokuo, Saiken, Chomei, Gyuki." They all say, one after the other, in order of their tails. But the last creature doesn't reveal its name. All he says is, "You didn't deserve to know my name." In this timeline, Kurama feels even more hate towards Naruto, because not only is he a human, worse, he is also Madara's grandson, and Madara used Kurama as a weapon in war, controlling him, putting him in armor as a Trojan horse. Kurama despised him. Naruto then asked, "Well, can we be friends?" Now the tailed beasts are all staring at him in awe. This kid, he not only asked for their names, but now he wants to be their friends? Not just any kid, Hashirama and Madara's grandson? I mean, Hashirama, sure, but Madara? "Here, put your fist against mine. Then we can always talk in your psyche and train with you, if you want to," Matatabi says, stretching out her hand, turning it into a fist. Naruto first bumps her on the paw with his fists, but not before Son Goku the Four Tails does the same. He fist bumps him as well as Kokuo with the 5 tails. Now he has befriended 3 of the tailed beasts, greatly increasing his chakra's reserves and giving him new Keke Genkai like Blue Flame Release and Lava Release. As each of the tailed beasts, except for kind of Kurama I guess, has their own Keke Genkai, type of chakra, chakra nature, and so on, with each different experiences, stories, and history to learn from. And if he learned from all of them, Naruto could become a godlike shinobi, a true god of shinobi, stronger than any of his grandparents. Naruto trains some more and can now use the Keke Genkai he got from the tailed beast like Lava Release, Boil Release, and Blue Flame Release. Naruto has now also mastered some of Hashirama's technique like the Wooden Dragon Jutsu and the Wood Golem Jutsu, and of course still has his fully matured Sharingan with 3 Tomoe. Naruto is now told by Madara that he has only 1 more year of training until the start of the academy. "Why do I need to go there?" Naruto asked. You need to make some friends, Naruto. Madara is now only caring about Naruto and doesn't have any evil intentions or plans for his own infinite Tsukuyomi. All of that is gone and forgotten. Back in the past. Black Setsu isn't too happy about this, but he will have to deal with it in some way, shape, or form later. For now, it's actually good for Black Setsu that Naruto is leaving off to the Leaf Village. But we'll see later. We cut to almost 1 year later, and we see an extremely weakened Madara who's almost about to die, which is actually something that he planned for, as he extended his life as much as possible, mostly just for Naruto to be able to train with him and live with him up until he would go to the academy. It was very close, but Madara was able to time it just right, and had just enough chakra and will to live for that to happen. Naruto's training outside on his own, when White Zetsu tells Naruto that Madara wants to see him immediately, but when Naruto arrives to see Madara, it's too late, as he sees Madara taking his last breaths, and Madara says, "Naruto, my grandchild, I want you to go to the Hidden Leaf, but before you go, take my eyes." What? I've already explained this to you. I'm old, and I don't need these eyes any longer, but you do. Take my eyes, and you'll become even stronger than I was in my prime, even if you're still so young. If you take my eyes and you can revive me someday, well, that'd be just great. But you should wait a few years. Please do as I say. That was Madara's last wish. He took his last breath, and then passed on. Naruto's eyes immediately shoot up to 3 Tomoe and then start to spin, and they become a Mangekyo Sharingan. Naruto does as he was told, infuriated and completely consumed by emotions. He takes his own eyes out and puts Madara's in. It feels weird and disgusted him, but not for long. There he unlocks the Eternal Mangekyo Sharingan, the EMS. Naruto's eyes then start to spin again, but Naruto has Hashirama and Madara cells and DNA in him, as well as the fact that Madara had one. Naruto then unlocks the Rinnegan. By the way, it's mostly because Madara and Hashirama were, well, both individually reincarnations of Ashura and Indra, and Madara, kind of knowing this and suspecting it, wanted to pass that on to Naruto. By the way, just for your information, Madara doesn't have his Rinnegan anymore, as he gave it to Pain, aka Nagato, much earlier, still way before Naruto was born, even when Minato was still young. Naruto now goes around Madara's hideout and takes armor, shuriken, kunai, and anything else he might need, including some scrolls. Naruto makes his way over to the Hidden Leaf now, as he's there pretty quick, but on the way he entered his mindscape to talk to his tailed beasts, since they are the only people left in Naruto's life at this point, and he needs someone to talk to. He still has Zetsu, of course, White Zetsu. He never really liked Black Zetsu, and there was just something weird about him. White Zetsu was fine, but he wouldn't be the right person to talk to right now. By the way, White Zetsu just kind of stayed at Madara's place, or former Madara's place, but would be able to serve Naruto anytime he needed it. Anyway, cutting back to Naruto. Unknown to him, all the tailed beasts have respect for him now, except for Kurama. But due to his Rinnegan, which reminds the tailed beasts very much of their father, Hagoromo, the Sage of Six Paths. Gyuki and Shomei now also fist bump Naruto, as it has been quite a long time as he's done this, but it's still very refreshing, and it gives him a whole bunch of more chakra, as they have a lot of chakra, Gyuki and Shomei having 8 and 7 tails respectively, which means they're one of the strongest tailed beasts. Naruto now arrives at the gate of the village, being soothed a little bit, especially by Matotabi, who kind of understood the situation and predicament that Naruto was in, and he sees 2 Jonin guards standing and guarding the gate. Naruto continues casually walking. The 2 guards ask him who he is, but he doesn't respond. The 2 Jonin go into a fighting position. Naruto awakens his 3 Tomoe and quickly blazes it, then blitzes the 2 Jonin, knocking one out and pins one down to the ground. "I want to speak to the Hokage," Naruto demands. Fine. the Jonin says, scared. They walk over to the Hokage's office as he gets a few interesting looks, but also kind of disgusted, but curious at the same time, from some villagers he sees, or rather, that see him. He is being escorted to the Hokage by 2 Jonin after all, and they've never seen anyone like him. So it is something to be curious about. They knock on the Hokage's door as Hiruzen yells, "Come in!" Naruto casually walks into the room as he then asks the Hokage to talk to him alone. Hiruzen is reluctant but agrees as the child isn't giving off any disturbing chakra, so he makes a hand sign, for the 2 Jonin guards to go back to their posts and leave those 2 alone. After a few seconds of silence, Naruto says once more, "No, I mean completely alone." Hiruzen is shocked. "What do you mean? There's no one here in this room." "I know, but there's people on the roof listening to what we're saying. I want you to send them away too. If you'd be so kind, of course." Hiruzen is in complete shock as it would take probably a Jonin, if not at least a high-level Chunin, to notice the Anbu who were suppressing their chakra and their entire presence, to know that they were there, listening on to their conversation. "Fine then," Hiruzen says, a little reluctant, as he was a little bit surprised, as anyone would, at Naruto's capabilities and sensing abilities. Hiruzen then sends the Anbu away as now they're truly alone, talking one-on-one. "I want to live in this village," Naruto says. Okay, but why did you want to have all of the Anbu go away? That's not something to be ashamed of, young one." "Well, it's not that easy. Can you just tell me right now? Can I live in this village?" Yeah, sure. Also, do you have any parents or other sorts of family or guardians?" "No. My grandpa was all I had, but he died this morning, making me completely and utterly alone." The tailed beasts inside Naruto chuckle and say, "Well, you're not truly alone." And Naruto does light up a little bit, but he can't say that, since, well, I mean, who would believe him anyway? And it would just make him a big target for literally anyone, so he's not gonna say that for now. No one except for Madara and the Zetsus even knew about Naruto's existence, especially that fact that he was the ultimate Jinchuriki of every tailed beast. Okay then. Is it okay if you go to the orphanage, or were you expecting something else? Well, I was actually. I was hoping that I could do some missions to stay above water and rent my own apartment and eventually buy it and have a nice home for myself. What? Do ninja missions? But you need to wait at least a few years, and even then you're gonna be just a genin. You're way too young to do that. And you would have to go to the academy first, which you seem like you're old enough to just start. Well, that's exactly what I came here for. It was my grandpa's dying wish for me to get to this academy and train here, and make some friends especially. Well, if your grandpa said so, I guess. One more thing. I need to tell you about my parents and my grandparents. Hiruzen was intrigued at Naruto's proposal and was now listening to hear his heritage. Well, first things first, my parents. My mother is who you know as Kushina Senju. Hiruzen couldn't say anything, but was completely flabbergasted as Naruto continued speaking. Meanwhile, my father, her husband, was actually, believe it or not, the 4th Hokage, Minato the Yellow Flash. But what no one knows about him is that he actually had his history and memories erased, as he was born with a birth defect which gave him yellow hair, as he's not truly from the Namikaze clan. Truthfully, he's an Uchiha, similar to his father and his mother. More importantly, it wasn't just any Uchiha. My grandfather, his father, was none other than Uchiha Madara, meaning I'm Madara's grandson, son of 4th Hokage, and son of a senju, making me half senju and half Uchiha. What the? Hiruzen almost passed out, but managed to catch himself before he did. Are you okay, old man? It seemed like quite a bit. If you're not feeling too good, we can do this some other time, I guess. No, I'm fine. Sorry, what was your name again? Oh, my name's Naruto. My grandfather actually gave me the name, and he also raised me. Your grandfather? Wait, Madara's alive? Well, complicated story, but he did actually survive his battle with the first Hokage, so yeah. But, as I said before, he died this morning, so... He used to be alive, and was able to raise me, but that's no longer. Which, as I said, that's why I'm here. Here to integrate myself into the Leaf Village, if that's okay. Sure, I just can't get over what you just told me. You're basically telling me you have the strongest bloodline even remotely possible, unimaginable. Being a half Senju, half Uchiha, especially the grandson of Madara and the son of the 4th, the fastest ninja in the world. Both living, or I guess not living anymore, actual legends. That's kind of hard to imagine. But even if you weren't of a special bloodline, we'll accept you into the Leaf. As we will give everyone shelter in the Leaf Village, as long as they play their part in society. And no, you don't need to do ninja missions for now. It's okay if you go to the academy for a few years, and then we'll see. Sound good? That sounds great. Thank you very much, Naruto responded. I'm not saying you're lying, but could you show me some proof of your bloodline, if that's possible? I mean, I can see your black hair and all, but is there some way you could show me? Are you testing me, old man? Well. Let's see. Oh, I got the right thing for you. As Naruto awakens, or not truly awakens, but activates his sharingan, with 3 Tomori blazing in each eye. Red hot, like the fire that was able to burn down entire villages. As Hiruzen once again almost fell over completely. Now Naruto had unlocked and forcefully awakened himself, controlling the Mangekyo Sharingan for the very first time, as he had only unlocked it this morning, and now was able to use it for the first time on his command. Hiruzen was completely flabbergasted as he didn't know what to say. There weren't many who had the Mangekyo Sharingan, and not many kids who had the Sharingan at all, but both of those traits combined, a kid who hasn't even gone to the academy having a Mangekyo Sharingan? What even is this? That's incredible. Could I ask, do you have any experience fighting or training, or do you just have talent, I guess? Or did you just train your eyes, if that's even possible? Funny you ask. I've actually been training, well, with my grandfather. I mean, I guess I used to. But after all, he was the only person in my life. Naruto pronouncing person heavily for the tailed beast inside him not to get offended. So you actually trained with Madara Uchiha? That's gonna take a while to get used to. How long did you train? Oh, kind of funny you ask that. Since the age of 3. Oh dear, Kami. What is going on with this boy? You're truly a miracle. But at the same time a little bit frightening, Hiruzen thought at the back of his head. So, with all those traits in your bloodline, would you want to live with the rest of the Uchiha clan? I mean, I can arrange for it to happen. You have the powers to show for it, and the bloodline to prove it too. So, if you choose to, Sure, I would actually appreciate that very much, thank you. Naruto now said, a little bit sadder than what he's seen before, a little bit colder. Naruto was able to control his emotions pretty well, and wasn't acting too happy too often, and his standard mood was a little colder than the normal Naruto, and just more controlled, as he had learned a lot of how to think and how others think by Madara himself, as he had a lot of years of fighting and experience fighting all across the world, many different people, being the strongest, and basically creating the Leaf Village. He had a lot of experience, and Naruto learned a lot from it. Is it okay if I just call up the leader of the Uchiha clan? He should be here quick, Hiruzen said, interrupting Naruto's line of thought. Oh, sure. I'll just wait outside, in the hall, if that's okay. Of course, take a seat, and if there's anything you need, just come in again and ask. Thank you. Naruto walked outside, and then waited for the Uchiha clan leader to arrive once again. As he was often called to Hiruzen's office for a variety of reasons, he was a clan leader after all, and a necessity, key part of the village. So about 10 minutes later, the Uchiha leader arrived, going into Hiruzen's office, and then Hiruzen called Naruto into the room once more, but only after having talked to the leader already. Come in, Naruto, he said, as Naruto walked in slowly, trying to read the room, and seeing Fugaku, the Uchiha clan leader's face, as it was a curious look. I mean, there wasn't any Uchiha outside the Leaf Village, at least none that they'd heard of after all, so it was kind of weird that some Uchiha just trotted into the village today. So you're this Naruto I heard of. Interesting. And, old man, you truly want to tell me that this kid has the sharingan? Yeah, I couldn't believe it myself, but it's true. I guess he's suppressing his chakra or something. Want me to show it? Watch that attitude, Fugaku said, but then nodded. Here goes. As Naruto then once more glared his eyes, which were now filled with 3 Tomoe sharingan. Whoa! You didn't tell me it was 3 Tomoe. Let's go further. As then the 3 Tomoe started to spin into a Mangekyo which looked similar to Madara, with a combination of Obito's, as he did have some of Obito's cells after all, which did influence his sharingan, and just gave him a wider range of abilities. What? A Mangekyo, but wait a minute. That looks like... Fugaku stopped. It was what is known sometimes and referred to as the Eye of the Gods, the eternal Mangekyo Sharingan, one that would grant more control over the Mangekyo Sharingan's abilities, use up less chakra, make the abilities in general more powerful, and best of all, the Mangekyo Sharingan, after heavy use, would make the user blind or just having trouble seeing, but the Eternal Mangekyo had none of those repercussions. You could use it unlimited, unless you didn't have enough chakra, but it was much better than the Mangekyo Sharingan. Not even Fugaku had it. What? What are you? Are you some kind of monster? Fugaku is genuinely scared of Naruto at this point. Not out of anything crazy, but just his pure eyes were menacing. And they showed some kind of proudness, which he likely got from Madara. By the way, Fugaku did not know of Naruto's heritage at this point, neither the senju nor the Uchiha part. Not Minato, not Madara, he just knew that this kid was at least partially an Uchiha, as he had the Mangekyo Sharingan, so he was likely full Uchiha. So, I like you. Would you want to come with me to the clan? To our compound? We have a whole part of the village to ourselves. I think you'll like it. Naruto looked at Hiruzen for approval and he nodded. So then Naruto agreed and went along with Fugaku. They talked a little bit on the way as Fugaku mostly asked questions, which Naruto tried to answer on a basic level, but didn't go into much detail. When they finally arrived at what looked like Fugaku's house, we cut to a small flashback where Fugaku, after being very interested more and more in what Naruto's life had to offer, Naruto's character seemed to be good as an Uchiha too, and agreed with Fugaku's personality, Fugaku asked if Naruto would want to, at least temporarily, live with him. They have space as the leader. He has a very big borderline mansion, so space would not be the problem. Naruto thought about it, stopped walking, then made sure that Fugaku truly was the leader, and then agreed. Then we see Naruto and Fugaku both walking beside each other, not talking anymore, but both smiling as they both had met someone that they didn't think they'd ever meet in their whole life. As they see a couple of people standing at the entrance to Fugaku's home. Who's that? Sasuke asked, who was standing there. He was Fugaku's second son. This, Sasuke, is gonna be your brother for a while. My brother? Him. I can probably beat him with no difficulty right now. Easily. You wanna go, kid? Naruto said this even though he was actually 3 days younger than Sasuke, but had a clear sense of superiority towards Sasuke, and it was kind of right to. He was by far stronger, more experienced, more knowledgeable, and just better at everything. Sure, I'll fight you right now. Don't, Sasuke. Is this how we treat visitors? Also, you don't have a chance. Excuse me? Sasuke liked being the center of attention and therefore wanted to challenge anyone he thought he could beat to show superiority, and someday be a good clan head or something of the sort. He was a born leader, or at least he thought so. Why are you taking his side? Sasuke demanded from Fugaku. Not taking anyone's side, Sasuke. It's a fact. Naruto is way stronger. I mean, he's off the charts. I can't even comprehend the true extent of his power. So, I don't think you can beat him. Unless there's some training you've been doing, which you haven't been showing me, I kinda doubt it. As Sasuke then looked a little bit saddened, but also angry that his own father doubted his abilities, and thought of another kid he just met who would be greater than his own son. Sasuke was not gonna give up though, and then he started to activate his sharingan. It took a few seconds, but then it appeared. 2 Tomoe in one eye, and believe it or not, 3 Tomoe eye in the other. It was much better than canon, as he had the ability to train with Itachi, Shisui, and Fugaku whenever he wanted to. So his power already was far exceeding his canon itself. Now he was opposing Naruto, readying himself to fight and challenging Naruto. Now opposing Sasuke, who was trying to fight him, Naruto actually went and activated his 3 Tomoe Sharingan, which left Sasuke speechless. At this point, Fugaku was a little bit worried at what was going to happen if Naruto actually wanted to fight Sasuke, as Sasuke was strong, yeah, but he didn't have the power necessary to defeat a 3 Tomoe Sharingan yet. So, hopefully they weren't gonna fight. Is that enough yet? Naruto asked, a little bit cocky. No, still gonna fight you, Sasuke yelled angrily. Fine then, what about this? As Naruto then activated his Mangekyo Sharingan for the third time at his will and 4th time that day, as even though he just unlocked it that morning, he had to continuously use it for some reason, impress people. But how is that possible? Sasuke was shook to the core. I'm an Uchiha, just like you, Naruto replied in a calm, relaxed way. But that's the Mangekyo Sharingan. Only Uchiha elites have that, and even then, not a child. So what? If you're wondering why Naruto was so sure about the Mangekyo that he only unlocked earlier that day, Naruto first looked at 3 scrolls after Madara died. 2 of these scrolls were about the Mangekyo Sharingan, the other about the Rinnegan. Most of Madara's knowledge was comprised in those, as he knew that Naruto would likely search for some scrolls to learn about his new abilities, so Madara kind of prepared them already. Of course, he was able to read and memorize the scrolls more than 10 times faster than any normal person could due to his 3 Tomoe Sharingan, Mangekyo, and Rinnegan, though he really only used his 3 Tomoe as that was the only thing he could actually control at the time. Naruto, come inside, Mikoto said, who was also standing there. Okay. Tell us your story. How are you, Uchiha? But we've never seen you in the Leaf Village before. Whew. Well, that's a long story. First, you need to know... Well, you all know the 4th Hokage, right? Minato Namikaze? Of course. So, I'm his son, as well as the son of Kushina Uzumaki, the red-hot habanero. That's impossible. We knew them, but their child as well as themselves died in the Nine-Tails attack. It's true. Furthermore, I'm also Madara Uchiha and Hashirama Senju's grandson, so I'm actually half Uchiha, half Senju. What about your dad? He's Namikaze, not an Uchiha. That's what everybody thinks, Naruto answered. But in truth, Madara, my grandson, put my dad, Minato, under a permanent, unbreakable genjutsu. You probably know about the night of the Nine-Tails attack. Well, then you probably also know about the baby of the 4th Hokage that is said to have died at the hand of the tailed beast. Well, of course, everyone knows that. And then you're told that the 4th Hokage defeated the tailed beast, correct? And then died himself? However, neither the baby nor the tailed beast died that night. The Nine-Tails was sealed into the child, who was then kidnapped by a masked man. I am that child. I'm the baby that supposedly died on the night of the Nine-Tails attack. That masked man who kidnapped me then brought me to my grandfather Madara, as I would go on to grow up there until today, where, well, she died. And that is how I unlocked my Mangekyo Sharingan. And after taking his eyes after his death, I was then able to unlock the Eternal Mangekyo. Naruto says, still trying to hide his trump card, the Rinnegan, as it could be used as a last resort in case someone tried to attack him. Wow, you sure have gone through a lot, Mikoto says, looking down on the floor. Naruto then continued, after having solved all that, do you still want to adopt me? Even if we didn't want to, which we do, it's our duty. Because of your heritage, you are destined to become Uchiha clan leader. Because Madara was clan head and it's passed down to the eldest son of the previous clan head. However, after Madara left the village, his family tree was ended, and so my father took over as Uchiha clan head instead. But now that you're here, you should be Uchiha clan head instead, the rightful heir. Right as he finished talking, Fugaku got hit on the head from Mikoto. What he's trying to say is that, yes, we still want you, and we will take you in either way, Mikoto said. Thank you very much, Naruto says, as he bows. Madara taught him many things, including good manners. Oh, Naruto, you don't need to do that here, Mikoto said. We're family after all. You don't need to bow. Before anyone could say anything, a mysterious figure asked, Who are you? As she walked down the stairs. This was Tsuki, Sasuke's twin sister. Hello, my name's Naruto. What are you doing here? Tsuki said. Please, be more respectful. This is gonna be your brother, I guess. Please be kind to him. My brother? I already got enough of those. He's not even Uchiha anyways. I've never seen him in the Leaf Village at all. How could he be my brother? Is that so, huh? You think so lowly of me, Naruto said, a little bit agitated. Stop it, Fugaku demanded. He didn't want war to break out between quote-unquote two family members. Be more respectful to Naruto. What? He's probably some low Chunin, no clan brat that wants to become a shinobi for fun. Naruto now was really angry. Madara had taught him to be proud of his heritage, and Naruto definitely was. Naruto had enough rage to destroy the entire compound. Oh yeah? You wanna go? Let's fight and see who's stronger. Brat. Alright, fine, let's take it outside. Tsuki was prepared in a fighting stance. Tsuki then activated a 3 Tomoe Sharingan, as her talent and potential was similar to that of Itachi's. Huh, Tsuki said with a smirk. Didn't expect that, did you? You're gonna get obliterated by me and my Uchiha powers. I am far superior to you. You should bow down. Naruto then, without saying anything, then activated his 3 Tomoe Sharingan, which completely shook Tsuki. But before she could say anything, Naruto continued, activating his Mangekyo Sharingan, then Eternal Mangekyo, and then went even further beyond. As one eye, a single eye, seemed to be spiraling more and more, spiraling out of control into a Rinnegan. What the? Fugaku was completely in shock. How could anyone have the eyes of the gods? A Rinnegan at such a young age? The Rinnegan was a legend, only upheld by the Sage of Six Paths, and then this random kid strolls along and has it for some reason. Not only do you have the Sharingan, the Mangekyo Sharingan, but then the Eternal Mangekyo Sharingan, and that is the Rinnegan, the eyes of the Sage of Six Paths. Naruto finished Tsuki's sentence for her. How the hell do you have those eyes? Tsuki asked, trembling, almost falling to her knees. Well, it's a long story, but basically, I have the blood of the 2 children of Hagoromo, the Sage of Six Paths, that were reincarnated over and over again, and well, I am their descendant. The descendant of his son's reincarnations, giving him, I guess you could say, partially his chakra, which allows me to use this Rinnegan. Tsuki now fell to the ground as she was completely scared of Naruto, as he was actually emitting some bloodlust, some ki, and killer intent. Right before she fainted, Shisui, the fast ninja that he is, went in and swooped her up, bringing her to safety, so to speak. So, is there anyone else who wants to challenge me today? Naruto asked. No, that's enough for today, Fugaku said, as even he was slightly afraid. As now Naruto's eyes slowly go back to normal, meanwhile the tailed beast are, well, proud, but on the other hand, even a tiny bit scared as well. They got to see an actual demonstration of Naruto's strength, as it's hard for them to determine how powerful he is, as they've never seen him use his eyes before properly, the ones he only got that day. So, they're pretty shocked too. Even Kurama has respect for Naruto now, as he thinks to himself that afterwards he'll probably allow Naruto to have a mental connection to him too, as all of the tailed beasts are readying themselves to fist bump Naruto, showing a sign of agreeance, as well as actually linking their chakra, making Naruto even more of a beast. We cut to about 2 hours later, where Itachi and Shisui were called to a late evening mission. However, they were badly outnumbered, as this mission did not go as expected. The plan completely failed, and they were overrun. The shinobi weren't weak either, as Itachi, who wasn't as fast as Shisui, then got injured on the shoulder, greatly diminishing their chance of victory or even running away, as they were on their last straw with no backup to be expected, with no one in range to help them. In that exact moment, a shadowy figure arrived, with two differently colored, both glaring, blazing, bright eyes. One was purplish with grey rings in it, the other red. It was the eye of the Uchiha clan, the proud, eternal Mangekyo Sharingan. This man was short, yet his fighting capabilities were off the charts. He absolutely destroyed the enemy shinobi with only taijutsu. This was Naruto, as he had learned Madara's taijutsu style and perfected it over the years, and even added onto it. Imagine like Madara in the start of the Fourth Great Ninja War. Now it was Naruto taking out all opponents nearby. Now Naruto just got done finishing off the last opponent as he slowly walks over to Itachi, who was laying on the floor on his back, with Shisui standing behind him. Naruto is looking for approval to be able to call Itachi Big Brother, as they had only met earlier that day, not even that long. As I mentioned, Itachi and Shisui did have to leave shortly after. How are you even here, and how were you that fast, and how did you even find us? Itachi had a whole bunch of questions. That's easy. I just tracked your guys' chakra. But we're like a couple of kilometers away from the Leaf Village. A few less miles if you're American. Look it up, the conversion rate is 1.6 to 1 if you didn't know. Anyways. Wow, you're amazing, Naruto, Itachi continued. You know, you would do really well as an Anbu. You're fast, you have good sensing abilities, and your eyes are just insane. No. My grandpa told me that I should go to the academy and make some friends first, so that's what I'm gonna do. Okay, Naruto, whatever you say. Just know that possibility is always open, and if you need to, not that you need it, but if you want, I can put in a good word for you too. Why would you want to go to the academy anyway? Shisui asked. I mean, what could they teach you? You're just gonna waste your time there. You're stronger than even the senseis there, so why would you go? Stop. My grandfather told me that I should go, so I'm gonna go. He had his reasons, and so will I. Okay, whatever you say, Naruto. Then they go back to the Uchiha compound. Of course, Itachi and Shisui first have to finish their report of the mission, and then they all sleep overnight. On the next morning, Itachi tells Fugaku what happened, and Fugaku is amazed once more. Naruto, did you truly do that? Fugaku asked. Well, of course. I mean, we are brothers now, right? So why wouldn't I help my brother? I don't care if he's older than me. If he's my brother, I'm gonna help him whenever he needs it. Oh, by the way, quick question, Naruto said. When does the academy start exactly? The academy? Why would you want to go there? What could they teach you? I hate to have to repeat this, Naruto said. I'm going because my grandpa told me that I should go, and he definitely had his reasons, so I'm going to do it. Sure. Well, actually, the academy started yesterday. Yesterday? No. Fine then. So, what time does it start again? Well, it'll start, in about 5 minutes. Tsuki and Sasuke are going there right now. Tsuki and Sasuke? Could I go along with them then? Sure. If you make it, whatever. I guess you can join the class or whatever. Once again though, you should really think about it. Your abilities can be put to use in a lot of ways. So, being at the academy would be the good thing for the village, but that's your decision. And you're kind of right, you should make some friends your age first, and actually have human interaction, as you have been living alone for a while. Thank you for understanding. Alright, I'll be on my way now. Naruto, Itachi said, just follow their chakra, like you followed Shisui and mine, and you'll find the academy just fine. They, hopefully, are going the right way, so you just have to follow them. Good luck. As Naruto then leaves in a flash. Wow, that kid is truly something else, Fugaku said. What if Naruto was Madara and Hashirama's grandson per 4? Let's go. Naruto gets to class just in time, but, well, of course his new brother and sister get to class first, as he didn't want to use his shinobi powers to get to school when everyone can see him in clear daylight. So he decided to stroll along normally at the same pace that they did, just staying about 100 meters, 300 feet if you're American, behind them. Naruto's just about to get to class when he sees the teacher going into class first, but he wasn't gonna let that slide, as from the moment he's standing in front of the academy, basically teleports to right behind where the teacher was, as he didn't want to be late on his first day, and then he casually walks into the class before the teacher can mark anyone as late. The teacher's kind of shocked that they have a new student, but accepts it, no difficulty, and Naruto introduces himself just as Naruto. Then when asked where he wants to sit, he just sits next to Tsuki, who along with Sasuke are sitting in the middle of the classroom on the right side near the window, Sasuke looking out of the window, Tsuki paying attention to class as always. Tsuki is actually pretty happy that Naruto is sitting there now, because she kind of started liking Naruto a little bit more when she actually got to know him, and she already kind of forgot the whole challenging Naruto thing. Alright, Iruka says, smiling. So, if you didn't know, from now on I will be your classroom teacher, and we will get to know each other for the next 4 years. Isn't that exciting? 4 years? What a drag, Shikamaru says, already not looking forward for the next few years in the academy. I'm sure it'll be okay, Shikamaru, Shoji says, who had already known Shikamaru for quite a while. Meanwhile, he was, as always, eating a bag of chips. Not eating the bag, of course, he's eating the chips. No duh. Way too strong for these guys. What am I even doing here? Sasuke, what do you mean? It's gonna be fun, Tsuki says, trying to lighten up the mood. Especially with Naruto here. It's gonna be a blast. Once you got to know her, Tsuki is actually a pretty happy and fun person to be around. I'm glad you think that way, Tsuki, Naruto responded. But my only goal here is just to make friends. That is my mission after all. Well, that seems pretty lonely. I'm sure you'll find friends, Tsuki said, but then being interrupted by Sakura, who was sitting in the center middle of the room, who is now laughing, saying, You don't have friends? What a loser. Well, I mean, I have only been to this village since yesterday, so it's been less than 24 hours, so it was kind of hard to make any friends realistically. Only yesterday? Sakura was wondering where he came from, so she asked. Oh, well, I actually live with my grandfather pretty far away from here. Oh, your grandpa? Ina asked. Was he a shinobi, or why do you want to become one? Yeah, you're actually right. He was a shinobi. Pretty strong one at that. But sadly, he passed away yesterday morning. Hence, I came here. Oh. I'm sorry to hear that, Ina responded. Alright guys, enough with the chit-chat. Iruka continued. Today, we're gonna see where everyone's at and how far you've already gone. Perhaps some of you have done training with your parents, who knows, but nothing is required, so we just want to see where you're at, which is why we're going to do some sparring matches. It's going to be a one-on-one fight, but nothing serious, so none of you should get injured. So now, follow me to outside, and we can start the matches. Yes. On day 1, I can start defeating everyone here, Sasuke said, wanting to dominate everything, including the academy. When everyone stood outside, ready to fight and begin the matches, Hiruzen, the third Hokage, as well as Mizuki, another Chunin teacher, sensei, came out of the shadows, and Hiruzen explained that instead of having the future Genin fight each other, they should all have an even playing ground and actually fight Mizuki. Now, this fight would be assessed on how long they could last in a fight, as it ended whenever they were pinned down by Mizuki or gave up. He wasn't going to kill them, of course. He probably was not going to knock them out either. He had no biases against anyone there, and he was actually a somewhat peaceful soul. One by one, the academy students went up and fought Mizuki, some lasting only about 10 to 15 seconds, others lasting 1 or 2 minutes, which was very good. Athletic people who might be a little faster or already had some physical training done were of course doing much better, as no one really knew that many jutsu, so it was mostly about physical abilities and taijutsu, if any, and then it was Tsuki's turn. But of course, not before her twin brother Sasuke. He was called up first as always, and wanted to destroy Mizuki and even win the fight, and yelled out loud that he was going to be the only one to actually win the match. Instead of being assessed on a timer, he was going to beat the Chunin. Mizuki kind of laughed it off, and then the fight began. 4 minutes, that's pretty damn good. I didn't expect that from you, kid, Mizuki said, then standing up as he was sitting on Sasuke's back, who he had pinned down earlier after Sasuke made a stupid mistake of trying to punch Mizuki in the face, but then Mizuki quite literally turned the battle around and almost knocked Sasuke out due to the strength of pushing him to the ground. Well, best fighter so far. Now, Tsuki Uchiha, your turn. She didn't say much, but did very well either way, even better than Sasuke did. She lasted 5 minutes. By quite a bit, by far the best fighter so far, and the Proctor Iruka, Mizuki, and even Hiruzen was very surprised. Sasuke's score was already pretty good, by far the best. The second best was Shikamaru, who had been able to outsmart his opponent and lasted 3 minutes. Then Sasuke got 4 minutes, and Tsuki blew everything out of proportion with 5 minutes. Now, Naruto Uchiha. Uchiha? Sakura asked. Naruto didn't say anything as he walked up to the field where the fights were happening at, as all the academy students stood in basically a line on the side near the building of the academy, with Hiruzen and Iruka standing next to them, a little bit rotated. So now Tsuki walked towards the spectators, with Naruto basically switching places with her. "You got this," Tsuki yelled, which made Naruto smile, and now he was determined to win. Before the match began, he stood in his Madara-style taijutsu position, with Mizuki, who looked like he was gonna jump right at him when the match begun. And he did. Mizuki was quite a predictable fighter, at least in Naruto's eyes. He didn't even need to use the sharingan to know exactly what Mizuki was gonna do, as Madara did not only teach his own style to his grandson, but also many others that were likely to be used against him. Hence, Naruto had a lot of battle experience without even having any battle experience, if that makes sense. He was basically taught Madara's decades of experience in only 5 years, and even then surpassed Madara in certain areas. So when Mizuki jumped right at Naruto, dashing forward, trying to hit him, to teach him a lesson, as he thought Naruto was a little bit overconfident. He saw that Naruto walked up straight with his nose held high. He got this from Madara, as of course Madara told him and taught him everything. And over the years, he also brought over his pride. But Naruto didn't really mind, as of course he easily countered Mizuki by sidestepping to the left and then chopping Mizuki on the neck. Once again, he didn't need to use any special style or any dojutsu, just a simple chop was enough, as Naruto's base speed and strength was enough to knock out Mizuki. Naruto Uzumaki won. Oh my goodness. He's kind of similar to Minato was. Lord Fourth? I mean, sure. Iruka responded to Hiruzen's comment. Actually, I shouldn't say that, Hiruzen thought. He shouldn't say anything about Naruto's heritage before he opened up to it publicly, as it would just cause problems, and if anyone from outside the village heard, well, Minato was not the most popular guy, not to speak of Madara, and Hashirama also, yeah. Naruto's heritage, a little bit complicated, so Hiruzen should not talk about it for now, and no one really should except for Naruto. And for now, even more important is, Hiruzen would have to hide the fact that he only came to see these matches was just to see Naruto fight, and partially the two other Uchiha who were rumored to be very strong too, similar to their older brother Itachi, who had blown all proportions off and was even compared to Minato, a living legend at the time. But yeah, mostly just Naruto. Hiruzen was very curious after all. For knocking out and winning by knocking out his opponent, I'm gonna give Naruto an addition of the best score so far, which is 5 minutes, bringing his total fight time and lasting in the match of 5 minutes and 1 second. Therefore, currently Naruto holds the record, Hiruzen announced. They tried to wake up Mizuki back for him to finish the matches for it to actually be fair, but then Iruka had to jump in as Mizuki was not showing any response. He tried his best to fight at the same level that Mizuki was fighting at, as they weren't going to fight with their full power. They all used a, well, constant, pretty normal level of power. Now all the matches are finished and no new records were broken, bringing Naruto the number 1 and the victory, making him the king of the leaderboard, with Tsuki being just technically 1 second behind Naruto, and then the nearest one being Sasuke being about 4 minutes. Well done everyone, especially the top 3 Uchihas. Iruka said, especially you Naruto, you did extremely well. Really was not expecting that from a newcomer, but hey, you're incredible. You did great, Naruto, Tsuki said. Oh, thanks. But we were basically tied, and actually you did last longer in the fight anyways. And even if we don't count that, you are second after all, Naruto said, trying to correct her. Well, that is all true, but you are the only one that managed to actually beat the opponent, and either way, you were 1 second better than me, so just accept the compliment. I guess you're right. Thank you. Wait a minute. If we're talking here about something good, does that mean we're friends? Naruto asked, curious. Tsuki did not know how she should react to this, as she just tried to shrug it off. I mean, yeah, I guess. Sure, we're friends. Yes. Now, I'm on a good way to complete my mission, grandfather. I'll make you proud. I have already made a friend. Now the whole class was staring at him. Is he kidding? Sakura asked, a little bit weirded out. He's kinda weird, I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, but that kind of has a charm to it, don't you think? Ino said. And he kinda looks good too. Yeah, but Sasuke looks incredible, Sakura said. Yeah, but Naruto looks better. And also, did you see him fight? He's way stronger than Sasuke. Well, now I only have to find out how many friends that old man wanted me to make, Naruto thought. Sorry? Tsuki asked. Oh, no, nothing. I'm just happy we're friends now, that's all. Then he continued to mutter, maybe 5? Or maybe I should go safe and do 6, in case. A friend can't hurt, can they? So maybe an extra one would be good too. However, of course, Madara had very often spoke to Naruto about choosing allies that he trusted, and friends that would not backstab him. And of course, Naruto heard that speech over 1,000 times, as that was basically Madara's whole story. But Naruto wanted to be a clean slate, and wanted to make his own decisions. Of course, with big influence of his grandfather, but he wanted his own mindset, and not to be a copy of his grandfather. Naruto, to be honest, I think you're really overthinking this one. Because I think your grandfather just wanted you to have friends, to have some fun. I think he just wanted you to not be lonely, that's all. That could be true. Tsuki, you may be right. You are smart. Oh yeah, also, asking someone if you're friends is kind of not normal. It's usually a casual thing that you just agree on, unspoken. It just kind of happens. You don't ask someone to be their friend. Oh, okay then. Well, I'll try to perfect my skills there too. I need to be perfect after all. Whatever you say, Naruto. Naruto, you really have to learn more about a social life and having friends. I guess you're right, but you still have quite a bit to learn about being a shinobi and becoming stronger. So I guess we all have something to learn. I mean, we are still pretty young, so it's pretty natural for us to have a lot of lacking wisdom. You guys may be right, but I'll still surpass all of you in everything, Sasuke said, kind of joking, but at the same time, actually being serious. Now we skip forward 4 years until the start of the Genin exams for the academy students to finish off their training and education to become full-fledged actual shinobi. During these 4 years, Naruto didn't really work much in the academy as he didn't learn anything new. He'd already perfected all the ninjutsu, taijutsu, and had all the knowledge from Madara himself, who had experienced historical events and told him secondhand. So Naruto would not learn anything remarkable from the academy, except of course knowing how to counter with other people, basically improving his social skills, but not really improving his shinobi skills. However, he did still train nonetheless, wanting to become stronger every day. He trained in the Uchiha compound as it was a quiet place, where he had the freedom to do basically whatever. He was still living with Fugaku's family, as every afternoon he trained outside the Uchiha compound, sometimes with Tsuki, watching him and even giving him some food that Mikoto cooked up. During this time, Naruto was enjoying his life more than he'd ever before. Of course, he loved living with his grandpa, and that was all fun and games, but here he had a big family, each one that loved him, and he had more than just one person taking care of him. It was like a dream come true. He had many friends at the academy. He was seen as a part of his Uchiha clan, and was loved by the entire village. Villagers recognized him on the street. He was a very kind boy, a strong shinobi, and a good friend. Almost a perfect human, you could say. There is not a single soul that disliked him. Of course, except for a few that were jealous of him, but nothing serious, of course. I mean, how could you? Naruto also went on a few missions along with Shisui and Itachi, who he befriended even more, especially Shisui. and they had even trained a little bit, as Naruto learned some speedy techniques from Shisui, being able to learn them pretty fast with Minato's genes, as Minato was known to be the fastest shinobi ever, so that kind of made it easier for Naruto. However, Naruto was able to teach Shisui and Itachi a few things too, especially about the Sharingan and the whole Uchiha clan, as Madara had devoted his entire life to researching things, and had found out many things, including secrets about the Uchiha Sharingan and the Uchiha curse that had never been told or understood by anyone except for him. Which is why over this time, Naruto, Itachi, and Shisui all got a much better mastery of their dojutsu, Naruto mainly learning about the Mangekyo and the Rinnegan, as his normal Sharingan was mastered beyond comprehension, although even his Mangekyo Sharingan was at a pretty good level, too. The only sad thing is there was no one that could teach him anything about the Rinnegan, and even the scroll that Madara provided him with was somewhat limited. Of course, it was more useful than just going off of experience and trial and error, but still not that much, so Naruto did have to do a lot of researching himself. Naruto was smart after all, and had a very logical way of learning, and Madara did teach him how to actually research. And Naruto was actually able to write scientific reports which helped him in his studies, and gave him a much better understanding of the world, and his new dojutsu. Anyways, back to Uchiha going on the missions. Naruto did go along with some of the Anbu missions that Shisui and Itachi were presented with, as of course Naruto had enough strength to go on them, if not even do them himself. Hiruzen kind of knew this, as he had seen Naruto fight a couple of times, even fighting and sparring with Itachi and Shisui, and Fugaku reiterated this, saying that Naruto's eyes were even stronger than his, and if they truly fought, who knows, in a few years, Naruto might actually overpower both of them. Both of them being Hiruzen and Fugaku, by the way. Now onto the Genin exams that were happening today. The morning was like any other, where the three Uchiha siblings walked to school, to the Ninja Academy together, Tsuki smiling, Naruto being excited about today's exam, as he can now become a full-fledged shinobi, and in his mind has completed the mission that his grandfather gave him, as he'd made many friends and actually completed the academy. And of course there's Sasuke, who's determined to become the strongest, and this is just a stepping stone for him to become a shinobi no kami, a legend amongst shinobi, a god of shinobi. When Sasuke was asked to make a clone, he actually made 3 casually and then walked back to his seat, impressing the teacher and the people in the class, although they kind of expected it from the Uchiha prodigy. Although, there were still 2 more prodigies, both Uchiha as well, so they'd be excited what they would do. Then it was Tsuki's turn, as that was always the order. First Sasuke, then Tsuki, then Naruto, because that was just the way the name list went, so it was always the same. Anyways, then it was Tsuki's turn, who also did 3 clone jutsu, casually, but then after waiting 2 seconds, she made a transformation jutsu that transformed all of them, once again, very casually, and then stuck out her tongue to Sasuke, making him annoyed. They always had a friendly rivalry, even though they knew of each other's power and supported each other, they did still compete in everything they did. And then there was Naruto. Naruto made 10 clones, which wasn't too crazily impressive considering his skills, but he made shadow clones, not any clones. Shadow clones were special, a Jonin style technique instead of an academy to maybe Genin level technique that normal clones were. They had physical and chakra power, which made them very useful in battle as well as even training, as they had what Madara and Naruto researched and called the shadow clone trick, which allowed the user to train much more effectively, going up to multiple times over the normal speed of training, even at maximum capacity of one single person training. Shadow clones, even if you were using them casually, made training much easier and faster and more effective. However, then wanting to flex a little bit as well, making him the strongest in the class, he made all those 10 clones transform. Not just anything, but into different beings. 5 of the clones, the 5 to his left, transformed into Madara, Uchiha Madara. And the 5 to his right, the rest of the clones, transformed into Hashirama, Hashirama Senju. 2 rivals, 2 legends, 2 shinobi, gods who had created the Leaf Village, and to some extent the whole modern ninja world, and shaped the way that society is today. With both of their blood and chakra flowing through Naruto's veins. To some extent, it represents not just the history of the world, but Naruto's heritage and history as well, especially Madara, who was the sole reason that Naruto was there in this current moment. Iruka looked in shock. Naruto, you passed, but why? Could you please disband those clones? As Naruto disbanded them, making Iruka breathe a little bit lighter. Thank you. Still though, why them exactly? I mean, Hashirama, sure, our leader, or our former leader, but Madara? Oh, sure, I'll tell you then. As the whole class looked confused, they had a rough idea of what Hashirama looked like due to the stone face that overlooked Konoha, but they had no idea what Madara looked like, so they just thought it was a random person with black hair. As of course Madara's Uchiha sharingan dojutsu was not visible, so they didn't think anything much of the black-haired person. However, then Naruto explained a little bit of his heritage, explaining that he is the grandson of Hashirama and the grandson of Madara. And when he referred to living with his grandpa, as he did many times over the years, he was talking about Madara having raised him, which surprised everyone, Iruka especially. By the way, Hiruzen isn't here in this scenario, because the exams were a little bit different in this story. So now the whole class was surprised. Of course, no one had any special kind of hatred towards Naruto, except for Kiba, who was very jealous of him, especially that all the girls liked Naruto. But now they found out that Madara Uchiha, the one and only rival of the first Hokage, who actually helped to build and form the Leaf Village, was Naruto's grandfather, and of course raised him. And then the first Hokage himself was Naruto's grandfather as well. It was really overwhelming, but especially for Iruka, as he understood more about Konoha's history than anyone else did in the room, so much so that he fainted due to pure shock. But the thing is, Naruto kind of hinted at the fact that he was Hashirama's grandson, but only deliberately said that he was Madara's grandson. So they weren't actually that sure, but what they were sure of is that Naruto was raised by his grandfather, who was the rival of the first Hokage, and a godlike shinobi. Still insane. So now Naruto knocked out his sensei with pure shock of information. It took him 20 minutes to wake up, as Naruto, who was squatting down next to Iruka, who was laying on the floor with his stomach up, pointing to the ceiling. Naruto has a disappointed look, but also is a little bit happy that his sensei finally woke up. Iruka, you know it took you over 20 minutes to wake up. You know some of us still have to do our exams, right? You kind of have to step up your game. Come on, we're on a tight schedule here. What happened? Iruka is confused, as he thought that the whole thing was just a dream of Naruto, explaining what he did. I think you remember just fine. No, that was not a dream before you ask yourself that. It's all true what you heard. Madara is my grandfather. But wait, please don't start feeding again. Let's just finish the exams for today, yep? Great. Alright, let's go everyone! As Naruto went from a kind of sad, disappointed, neutral look to a very happy one in 3 seconds. Now standing up and looking at the whole class as if he just became a substitute teacher. So the rest of the class finished their exams, doing clones, and then all of the students had to do their transformation jutsu too, except for the few students who had already done their transformation jutsu, especially Naruto and Suki, who had demonstrated it on multiple clones. But Shikamaru did also do the transformation jutsu, for example, and sadly the only reason he did was because he knew that it was going to be another requirement, another test for him to do later, and he was so lazy that day, a little bit tired, that he just didn't want to stand up again, so he did it both in one, saying, "This is my clone," then disbands it, and then did his transformation jutsu, and then sat down again, not waiting for a response from the teacher. He's smart, yet lazy, as everyone already knew. But, I mean, that's one thing about Shikamaru that you just can't hate. Anyways, now the whole class gets their headband, as they all stand outside where the swing was. Just outside the academy building was a place that they usually hung out at, and were now all talking to each other about how they were finally actual shinobi. Some more excited than others, Shikamaru bored, but like Sasuke for example, was incredibly excited, and Naruto and Suki were pretty happy too. Now it was told to them that on the next day they would actually get their Jonin team leaders to become official genin already. They would not get a breath of fresh air, only one night to sleep, and transition from being an academy student to a full-fledged genin shinobi. So it was now the next day, as the academy students got their teachers, though it seemed to be a little bit different than usual. Whilst having the normal 3 genin with 1 jonin teams, they also had what they called groups, which were 2 genin teams paired in 1 group. So if there ever was a harder mission that one team couldn't do, the other would assist. Or the whole group would just go on one mission if it was a harder mission. So anyways, Naruto, along with, who would have guessed, his 2 siblings, became Team 7. This was under the lead of Kakashi Hatake, who coincidentally was Minato, Naruto's father's student, now teaching Naruto. Kind of a coincidence, if you ask me. But of course, as we all know him, Kakashi was late. The latest. The last. First came Kurenai and Asuma together, and then they waited. And they waited. And they waited. And they waited a little bit more. And then finally, after 1.5 hours, Kakashi finally arrived a little bit late. 1.5 hours late. Now, Sasuke and Suki were there, but there was no trace of Naruto. Kakashi looked around the room as if Naruto was some sort of hidden Anbu hiding on the roof, but he was nowhere to be seen, or sensed, or heard. Naruto was gone. Kakashi kind of frowned at this. Of course, here he did not know who Naruto was, and he didn't even know that his sensei's kid actually survived. They were all told that the Nine-Tails killed both the 4th Hokage and its child. Of course, even the Jonin don't know of Naruto's heritage, or who he is. Hiruzen and Fugaku both thought that it would be best if Naruto reveals it to whoever he trusts worthy to know such secrets, as, once again, they have the power, just those words, have the power to spark war and conflict, not just against Naruto, but against the whole village of Konoha. So, it's not good. Here we jump back to when Naruto was following a brat called Kibo, but hear me out here. Kibo is like Kiba, but worse. Crazy idea here. I know the name is creative. Anyways, so Kibo was basically Kiba's friend, as they were both very jealous of Naruto and they did not like him. Mizuki was able to trick him into stealing the scroll of sealing as he was not passing the exam that day, and was told that if he stole the scroll, he would definitely become Genin, perhaps even Chunin. Who knows? But of course, as in canon, Mizuki was completely lying and tried to backstab his student. But luckily Naruto was there, with Iruka being there 5 seconds later, but Naruto first. And he tied down his own sensei for the second time in his career. Actually a little bit more, but more than second time in his career as a student, he tied down his own sensei more than once, being Mizuki. Mizuki is furious, not only being bested by a single academy student, but especially by Naruto. He did not like Naruto ever since the incident 4 years ago. Now, he didn't dislike him since that day, but ever since then, Naruto just did not seem to make Mizuki happy, as everyone else seemed to be happy around Naruto. And of course, Naruto did look through the scroll of sealing, though there wasn't that much new things. There was the Rasengan, an interesting technique that Naruto would definitely take a look at. He never heard of it. Well, he had heard of it, but he'd never heard of it, how to do it before. So he was gonna try it. And with the Shadow Clones, if he quote-unquote tried it, well, there was some techniques that he tried for one day, and then he mastered them after a week. So trying them basically means training them 24/7. Sometimes Naruto literally had clones train for 24 hours a day, even training whilst he was sleeping. Naruto be on that grind. Anyways, then cutting back to the present, Kakashi told Sasuke and Suki to go back to the roof, or rather, to get to the roof, for them to introduce each other and start their lives as Genin, not expecting the third team member, who he didn't actually know who it was yet, to arrive. But once they were there, they saw Naruto sleeping on one of the steps, with a certain book on his chest. It was half opened, and Kakashi only needed a glance to know what the book was. And I think you guys can piece it together. It was one of the Uchiha Paradise series. Kakashi was surprised when Suki told them that that was going to be their last teammate, and that was in fact Naruto. Then they would do their normal introductions. When Kakashi and everyone else discovered Naruto sleeping on the steps on the roof, Naruto immediately jumped up, being wide awake, and then said that they took quite a long time. Naruto just kind of had an intuition, a kind of sixth sense, that they would go up to the roof. So then Kakashi kind of went away from that whole thing, grounded himself once more, and then they started doing introductions. Kakashi didn't say much about him, but then passed it on to Sasuke. He said kind of his normal stuff. He was going to overpower everyone, and to a certain person he had to prove his might. And then he said he might become the clan leader, though even he, Sasuke, a proud shinobi if you can call him that, was unsure about his own goal. It was a little bit surprising to Naruto and Suki, yet they kind of rolled with it. Then it was Tsuki's turn. She seemed like the loving and caring person of the team, yet still a strong and fearsome Kunoichi, rivaling or even outmatching Sasuke in power. She wanted to care for her teammates and protect them no matter what, as well as protect the Leaf Village and grant security to everyone in the Leaf Village. Then Naruto. He was last, yet his goals were not going to be overlooked. Kakashi was interested in hearing them after witnessing Naruto for pretty much the first time. Now they had had interactions before, but they were a little bit different, and I'm gonna get into that later. Naruto said that he wanted to be a leader for the Leaf Village and lead in times of peace and security, as well as in times of war and battle. He wanted to be a light shining through the village, helping people out in any way that he could, not just as a shinobi, but as a human, as a person, as a friend. And with that, Kakashi, after hearing his new Genin team's goals, he then introduced their first kind of exam, the bell test. They would complete this to actually prove that they're worthy of being Genin, which Kakashi had a strong feeling they were definitely ready to be Genin, and even more. By the way, one quick important thing, Tsuki, Naruto, and Sasuke are not yet Chunin or Jonin or a higher rank because Fugaku was a little bit scared after knowing what Shisui and Itachi gone through because of becoming a Chunin and Jonin and Anbu at a such young age and almost being forced to annihilate their own clan. They didn't want that for their other children, so Fugaku and Mikoto both decided that they wouldn't want their children to grow up and mature too fast. Especially in times of peace, it wasn't necessary, so they were gonna take their time. Anyways, back to the exam. Rather, the exam to come. Kakashi didn't explain much, but just said that they shouldn't eat on the next day, and come directly to the training field. They then did, and of course, only Tsuki and Sasuke came. Naruto slept in, but Tsuki and Sasuke left without him. Naruto slept in pretty often as it was a trait that he had gotten over the years. He was a little bit bored at his life. He still enjoyed it, of course, but there wasn't anything to fight. So with his battle genes, especially that of Madara and Hashirama, two war heroes, or villains, depending on your perspective, he kind of went into sleep mode, quite literally. But now, he woke up and arrived on the training field 30 minutes late, but not too late as their teacher still wasn't there. Then they waited another half hour as the teacher finally came and then they started the exam. Kakashi explained a little more that their exam would be to get belts. However, there was only 2 belts for 3 people. Of course, Naruto immediately knew or figured out what was happening, as he then messaged it over to Tsuki and Sasuke, as over the years they'd actually developed pretty good teamwork together, as they had often sparred together in a 3-way team, and so they could often communicate strategies or even plan out entire battles without anything verbal and were silent killers. It was pretty menacing once you saw it for the first time, but you kinda got used to it. So they all rushed in at the same time, though Naruto showing with a hand sign that it required teamwork. He couldn't explain how, but he just showed that they needed teamwork, and Sasuke and Tsuki accepted him as their natural leader, as he was the strongest of the 3, so whatever he said, they would go along with. Now they tagged their Jonin sensei together, Sasuke rushing in with shuriken and kunai, then being assisted by Naruto with his insane taijutsu skills, and was actually able to push back High Jonin Kakashi pretty easily. However, Tsuki wasn't gonna be left out in this battle, and came from the side, dashing into Kakashi, knocking him back 5 meters, 15 feet if you're American, and then the 3-man team continued to annihilate their quote-unquote sensei. One hit after the other, one kunai slash after the next, one fireball jutsu, and one more, until the Jonin sensei activated his sharingan. Now, the 3 siblings were not as surprised as Sasuke was in canon. They'd already heard of the sharingan using Kakashi, and so they were prepared, but in response to this, they weren't just gonna fight normally as they had before. Of course, they would use their sharingan too, else it wasn't any fun. So now, even though Kakashi did receive a massive power-up now using his sharingan, well, he is now fighting against 3 opponents who are now also using a 3 Tomoe matured sharingan, which they'd practiced, trained with, and mastered over the years. So yeah, all 3 of them have 3 Tomoe sharingans. Now the fight was truly on a whole new level. Punches and kicks were being blocked, and completely avoided easily by their Jonin sensei, but also the other way around. The small kids were agile and fast, and were thinking of new strategies every few seconds, which they could communicate to each other easily. And Kakashi, who didn't really understand, or took a while to understand, their form of communication, had struggle understanding what they would do next and predicting their moves. After a few times sending hand sign messages, Kakashi slowly picked up what the siblings were sending and predicting what the signs mean. With his Sharingan, though it was really hard, as Naruto was the one that came up with the system, and it was something that Madara had taught him, and Naruto had actually kind of changed it and remastered the whole system over the years. It was not an alphabet, it was words and phrases which could be combined if the hands were formed a little differently. Now of course you had to remember them as there was no real pattern to them. Naruto made it extremely unpredictable and not understandable at all for opponents, as that was basically its main use, for the opponent not to know your strategy, but for you to be able to communicate fast and silent. It was a very good system for Naruto and his teammates. Well, his two siblings were the only ones that understood the system. Anyways, so now they crank up their power and speed, as they're easily able to avoid Kakashi's blows, and their jutsu are now increased in power a lot with them activating their Sharingan. The fireballs burn away at the ground, even leaving dents in it, and Kakashi is pushed back so far that Naruto is actually able to grab the two belts in one swift motion, flinging them in the air as if they were a coin, each one flying to his two siblings. Him leaving with none, but he knows that they passed. There is no way they didn't pass, they just defeated Jonin after all. And Kakashi reiterated that, understanding that somehow they'd figured out the true meaning of the exam so quickly, and defeated him in less than 5 minutes. It was by far the best Kakashi had ever seen before from anyone. It was unheard of. It was insane. And Kakashi was even proud to be able to call those three his students, as whilst they could still learn a bit, especially experience-wise, they had incredible potential and their training was on point. Kakashi was proud and told each one of them that they would start their missions tomorrow, as first they should get some rest, but complimented them saying that their fighting capabilities were incredible. Their teamwork was very well planned out, and their way of communication was unique, fast, and just straight up godlike. It was practiced, and it was just straight up incredible. So now, we cut to some missions. Of course, they start out with the normal missions: chasing cats, plowing the field, harvesting crops, and just helping out the village in basic ways. Sasuke is very fast getting bored and annoyed at these missions. Tsuge is kind of fine with it, as it's still kind of fun doing work, especially shinobi work, with her two siblings and a Jonin. And Naruto is kind of happy actually. He likes helping out the village, as each one of the people they help out know Naruto already, as he's known throughout the village as just a kind guy. And this just helps his reputation even more, as he did a lot of D-rank mission, and his team just kind of went along with it. And whilst doing the missions, Naruto even used some Shadow Clone's jutsu, which the team greatly appreciated, as now they didn't have to do much work, as Naruto's 100 Shadow Clones would do all the work for them, and they completed many missions, even earning them quite a bit of cash, especially for their Genin rank. But after only half a month, Sasuke and Tsuki were very quickly getting annoyed at these missions and did not want them anymore, and Naruto, well, he could use a refresher too. He didn't want to do this forever, so all three of them, at the same time, yelled out the words, "I want a harder mission!" to the third Hokage, Hiruzen, who was receiving their mission report from Kakashi. I knew this was gonna come, to be honest. And you guys have prepared, definitely. Kakashi tells me you are very strong, so let's do this, why not? Tazuna can come in now. As an old man with a bottle of sake in his hand came into the room, he made a joke about how all 3 siblings looked the same, like a copy of another. All just kids who wanted to play ninja, that couldn't even protect them. Kakashi raised his eyebrows to see what they would do, but also to kind of think, wow, my students are being underestimated very, very much right now. As even though it had only been about 2 weeks, Kakashi was already very, very proud of his students, as even in those 2 weeks doing weird, not difficult, barely even shinobi missions, even they had improved in some areas of themselves. But anyways, Sasuke actually slowly moves his hand towards a kunai, when Naruto actually intervenes, walks in front of Sasuke, and greets Tazuna kindly, saying that, "You'll see how strong we are. For now, let's see if we can escort you to that village, shall we?" "Alright then," Hiruzen continued. "I guess now you're introduced. Tomorrow you guys can continue with your missions and start your first harder mission, this being a C-rank mission. Your task is to escort Tazuna, as I've already mentioned. You're to protect him from any and all danger, and no harm shall be done to him, and you should be careful too. So, tomorrow at 10 o'clock sharp in the morning, you are leaving. Good luck." Hiruzen dismissed the Genin team and Tazuna as they all left, the 3 Genin splitting at the street intersection, all 3 of them going to the Uchiha compound, whilst Tazuna was going left to the hotel where he was staying at. Now the next morning to be precise. Naruto had slept in again, or tried to sleep in, but Sasuke and Tsuki was not gonna let that happen. Sasuke was annoyed, started yelling, though then quieted down when Mikoto got angry at him. She tried to wake him up, but that was no use, and then Tsuki started jumping on Naruto's bed, which hurt him enough for him to stand up and get dressed, and actually go to the mission that he was ordered to from the Hokage himself. And slowly but surely, he got an interesting feeling. It was a tingling, butterflies, excitement in his stomach. This was a coping mechanism for his curiosity for the mission. So then, all of 3 of them arrived at the village gate, and Kakashi was there too, surprisingly not late today. Of course, Tazuna then arrived 5 minutes later, this time luckily not drunk. Tsuki had complained that his breath stunk the day earlier, and she was not going to be happy if he was drunk again, so they were glad he wasn't, as Tsuki would have probably punched him in the face if he was. She wasn't aggressive, but she would like to show her opinion, if you know what I mean. Anyways, now the Genin team was going to escort Tazuna to his own village to build a bridge that would, as they would soon find out, protect his life and save the entire village. Team 7 is now on their way to escort Tazuna to the Land of Waves. Everything goes pretty normally. They're in their diamond position and formation, in which one person goes in the front, 2 on either side of the person they're escorting, and then 1 in the back, as there are 3 Genin and 1 Jonin. The Jonin goes in the back in case anything is to happen, as if people attack from behind, the Genin team can run forward, meanwhile the Jonin is protecting them. Everything goes as well as it could. Nothing is happening, the sun is shining bright, and the mission is going with great success, until they see a puddle, which is a little bit odd. There hasn't been any rain or even fog in the last 3 weeks. The air is as dry as it could be, so why is there a puddle of water here? Jonin Kakashi immediately spots this, but doesn't say anything for now, as he wants to see what his Genin team will do against it. However, the 3 are already on it. Naruto switches up his stance from normal walking to moving his legs and his feet a little closer together, which is easily noticed by Tsuki and Sasuke, and is a sign that they're going to be attacked in a few seconds. As soon as they're right next to the puddle, 2 people jump out and try to attack the Genin team. It's two Chunin who have a weird mask on their face. They immediately try to attack Tazuna, though he's well protected, and Naruto fights off one of them very easily with 3 punches, which completely knock him out, and then Sasuke, who is on the left of Kazuna, who's now also fighting one of the demon brothers, is also pretty easily fighting them off, or fighting one of them off, as in only 5 seconds, the Chunin brother is down. A little harder than what Naruto had to do, as Naruto took less than 1 second doing 3 swift punches, but still pretty impressive on Sasuke's part. Kakashi is very surprised, but at the same time he saw how well they could be used in teamwork when they were doing the bell test, so at the same time, not really that surprising. Then they tie them up and continue on their mission. Kakashi though, before that, sends one of his summoning dogs back to Konoha to tell them to send a person to bring back these 2 demon brothers and interrogate them for whatever, or at least turn them in, as they are criminals after all. Then Kakashi asks Tazuna what is going on, as these 2 were Chunin level fighters, and they might get even stronger along the mission, so this is definitely not a C-rank mission. Kakashi is so infuriated that he's about to close the mission and make everyone back to Konoha, though Sasuke, Naruto, and Tsuki all insist on continuing this mission as it's right for them. Fighting Chunin is what they're ready for. They don't want to have anything boring like fighting basic bandits. They'd already done that many times. They want something exciting, like this one. And they couldn't just stop on their first harder mission, so they needed to actually do this. Kakashi got swayed pretty easily as he saw how mature his Genin are, so it would be alright, and they're very strong too. So Tazuna, even through his mistake of misleading the village, is now being continued to be escorted until they're right at the Land of Waves, in the village where Tazuna lives, but right before they can actually enter the village, near a lake in the forest, a huge blade, over 2 meters, more than 6 foot if you're American, is thrown at the Genin team, but easily dodged by everyone, because, well, Kakashi did scream to jump or duck, but the Genin team was ready and saw it coming from a mile away. Now, Naruto sends a signal for the 3 to get into formation before the fight even starts, building a kind of wall in front of Tazuna, and Tsuki tells Tazuna to go back near where Jonin Kakashi is, as he would protect him and the Genin could fight. Kakashi is reluctant to let this happen, especially when he sees that standing on the blade that was thrown at them, which stick to a wall, is Zabuza, a Jonin level fighter, or even above that, one of the 7 deadly swordsmen of the mist. An almost legend, you could say, who is known for his attempted assassination at a Kage. However, even after leaving his home village, he still continued to kill, assassinate, and really do anything for payment. He became a mercenary, a rogue shinobi. Naruto and Sasuke immediately rush towards Zabuza before he can even say anything, leaving Tsuki and Kakashi to defend Tazuna, the one they're escorting. When Zabuza even realized that Naruto and Sasuke left their initial position, they had already activated their 3 Tomoe Sharingan, and their speed is unlike anything that a Genin or perhaps even a Chunin could achieve. They're completely off the charts, and now they're fighting Zabuza and Hanta in combat. Their teamwork is impeccable, as they're easily outspeeding their opponent. Zabuza's forced to actually be serious in this fight, as he can't let up. Tsuki actually does some support from the back, throwing a few kunai, which does impede Zabuza's movement, and also uses a fireball jutsu, which allows Naruto to get a clean punch on Zabuza's face, knocking him near Kakashi, where Kakashi slides his foot along Zabuza which makes him fall to the ground. And then Naruto starts to sit on Zabuza's chest and starts punching him, and punching him. Naruto doesn't seem to stop as he has a grin on his face. He doesn't want to kill anyone, but he's so excited to do this mission that he lost track of himself. In his genes of war, especially Hashirama, Madara, and Minato, his genes are telling him he needs to win. Therefore, he completely lost control, and if Akatsuki and Sasuke weren't dragging him back at this point, he would have likely killed Zabuza. Zabuza is slowly intercepted by Naruto. Flying Senbon needles come at Zabuza. However, they're intercepted by Naruto. They were heading towards Zabuza's neck, but Naruto saw no need for them to hit Zabuza. They already won the fight. And why would Senbon needles be used this way anyway? Haku suddenly appears as he was standing on a tree, and asks why Naruto intercepted his Senbons. He is a tracking ninja that would have brought Zabuza to justice and, well, eliminated him. But Naruto asks a counter question, asking why a tracking ninja would ever use such ways to defeat an opponent. Why would you use medical needles? Why would you use basically acupuncture to defeat a Jonin rogue shinobi? That makes no sense. Explain yourself. He has a point, Kakashi thought. Haku didn't know what to say as Naruto moved closer and closer to Zabuza, holding a kunai in his hands. Do you want to tell me, or I'll kill him right now? Okay, fine. Relax. I was going to knock him out because the village decided that eliminating him as the usual rogue shinobi would not be a good idea. So we wanted to bring him in for actual justice alive. But Naruto was not going to buy this. He knew that a tracking ninja would never be used in this way, and if that was truly decided to let Zabuza live, which definitely wouldn't happen, they would send actual shinobi, not a tracking nin. Something was foul. Haku was scared, and Zabuza barely knew what was happening. He was beaten, bloody, almost knocked out by Naruto's punches, so he had trouble even listening to the conversation. Though Kakashi was now preparing for a fight, as it might escalate. He was agreeing with all of Naruto's points so far, and was having the same thought process. This would never even happen. Perhaps they're working together. Naruto and Kakashi had a rough idea what was going on, but couldn't exactly put their finger on it. But Naruto signaled his two siblings to prepare for a fight as well, as they also pulled out kunais, and now Tsuki also activated her sharingan. It was a menacing sight, and Kakashi wanted to look a little bit badass too in front of his students, activated his sharingan as well. These were the 4 people who had all had sharingans, Kakashi only having 1, but still, this team, this one genin team of 4 members had 7 sharingan in it. Truly menacing. A true dojutsu team, a true team of the sharingan. All 7 eyes glaring red, ready to fight, ready for battle. However, now Haku was responding, almost making hand seals, though thinks to himself that that's maybe not a good idea. They can probably copy what I do, but not if I use my Kekkei Genkai. So instead of using a normal water jutsu as he was planning to, he was now using his ice mirror technique to try to trap in the 3 genin, as he thought they could be an easy target, and then Haku and Zabuza could both take on the Jonin. Though that plan was easily stopped by Naruto, as he now sat down near Zabuza, who hadn't moved in a few seconds, not even breathing at this point. Still alive though, just in complete shock. And now sat down behind him, having a kunai ready to slit his throat. Haku though, not realizing what was going on, still activated his Kekkei Genkai Tsuki is able to jump away, though Sasuke is not. He was too focused on Zabuza and looking if he would do anything to try to hurt their team formation, but then was caught in a jutsu of Haku. When the jutsu was activated, Haku immediately disappeared in one of the mirrors, now flying from one mirror to another, so he wouldn't be detected. He was so fast that even a normal Chunin, if they didn't have a dojutsu, they'd have trouble picking his speed up. He was very, very fast. But Haku did not realize that Zabuza was about to get killed, so he continued fighting Sasuke, and started throwing senbon needles at him as well, a few of them actually hitting. But they're not too bad, so Tsuki and Sasuke are able to break one of the mirrors, which allows Naruto to breathe a little easier, as Sasuke now is able to slowly sneak away. However, then Haku starts throwing needles to Tazuna, which Kakashi jumps in front of, and this is the last straw. Naruto will not allow this to go on further, as he yells for Haku to stop, everybody's attention now being drawn to Naruto, as Naruto commits the act, and uses his kunai, well, to his advantage, if you know what I mean. Zabuza falls, as now Haku is surrounded by 4 sharingan users without a team member, and was easily overwhelmed. The 3 Genin immediately rushed at him, meanwhile Kakashi being careful for Tazuna not to get hurt. But yeah, Haku's fast, but he can't overwhelm 3 Sharingan users, especially not these 3. He's pinned down to the ground with one of his arms being broken by Naruto. He let himself go a little bit again, not as bad as the first time, but well, he wasn't as my right mind. He would have to take a while to calm down again. But then Tsuki knocks Haku out completely with one swish with her elbow to Haku's neck. Tazuna is extremely surprised at what just happened. 3 Genin just defeated 2 insanely powerful rogue shinobi. She felt safe now, but at the same time, it was scary what just happened. Kakashi summoned one more of his dogs to send to Konoha for Konoha to send somebody to get Zabuza's body, as it is an important asset. It could be diagnosed and analyzed, as he was a pretty strong shinobi, so there might be something that they could research in there. Who knows? But now they brought Haku, who was unconscious, put him in chakra cuffs, which I'm going to say is chakra that's thickened enough so it's basically unbreakable for anyone that's under a Kage level, which Haku is. And basically, it's chakra that's strengthened so much that it activates whatever element it's used on. So for example, with fire element, it would make your hands burn. With water, it would make them freeze or cold. Of course, all these going to an extreme length, so the victim of this would not try to escape, and even if they would, a lot of them couldn't. It was not an easy technique, and it was performed by Naruto, not by the Jonin. Naruto had learned this by Madara, as Madara of course had taken many precautions for whatever Naruto would be facing in his life further on, and had shown him an array of jutsu to use in many situations, including this one. So, chakra cuffs, ladies and gentlemen, and he used this with fire element. So, whenever Haku tried to escape, it would burn his hands severely. Now for the next few days they would go on and nothing crazy would happen, and Kakashi would want to train this Genin for the first day, as Tazuna still needed a day to prepare to build a bridge, as he needed to get all of his equipment ready, so they could only start the day after, and Kakashi was going to use this as training time, but he quickly learned that his quote-unquote Genin had much higher abilities, and had already completely mastered simple things, or at least simple to them, such as tree walking, water walking, basic chakra control, basic jutsus, and much more. They trained a little more of their teamwork, and actually sparred against Kakashi. Naruto also practicing more of his taijutsu and physical abilities, as he also did some basic calisthenics like push-up, doing pull-ups on a tree, and stuff like that. He needed to be fit for his taijutsu style anyway, and he hadn't done that much physical training in the last few weeks. He had mostly focused on chakra training and mastering some jutsus. Anyways, so the next day, now they started guarding the bridge, which was their actual mission, and they continued to do that for a few days until the bridge was almost done. Now, usually this bridge would have taken about a week or even a little over a week, but Naruto came in handy. Having mastered the ability of the shadow clones, he was able to use them to his advantage, so the bridge was finished in just 3 days. Naruto could have probably done this even faster, but he kind of enjoyed the time they had there, so he actually wanted to have some more time. Though didn't want the bridge to take forever or experience any more attacks, so he still helped the village out. On the last day, as they were quite literally finishing up and placing the last brick, and an actual crowd had gathered, as it was a miracle that the bridge was built so fast, and even built in the first place. A crowd started to gather, not just of civilians, but on the opposite end, of mercenaries. Gato, the mafia boss, standing in front of them. "So, Tazuna, you have gone against my warnings and built this bridge, have you? Well, that won't be necessary. You don't need that protection. We'll destroy this bridge anyways, and you will never build it again. Go get him!" As Gato yelled, all the mercenaries, which was about 50, started rushing the Genin team. However, they made a similar formation to what they had a few days earlier, the 3 Genin building a wall in front of Tazuna, and then Kakashi kind of in the middle, also looking out for any attacks on the civilians behind them, as he was wary of the whole situation. However, that wasn't a concern, as soon as the mercenaries had hit the middle ground of the bridge, the 3 Genin started heading there as well, just that they were much more than twice as fast as the mercenaries, arriving there in less than a second, having traveled over 10 meters, 30 feet if you're American, and are now easily taking out many opponents, especially Naruto, whose taijutsu style, taught to him by the legendary Madara, is easily made to take out many opponents at a time, as Naruto quite literally jumps across the battlefield, kicking, punching, using his fireball, and using his sharingan to the fullest extent. Similar to what we saw Madara use in the 4th Great Shinobi War, Naruto does on a little bit of a smaller scale, but still extremely impressive, as he leaps around the battlefield, taking out one opponent after the other, and all the attention is drawn to him, as he slowly gets closer and closer to Gato. Jumping from one mercenary to another, he's finally now standing in front of Gato, who, even though he's much older, is a similar height to him. This was the last day in the living realm for you. Now die! Naruto was able to control himself this time, but still ended up, well, killing Gato. He used one kunai, and, if I might say this, cut Gato in half. However, that wasn't going to stop him from eliminating all the other mercenaries, as he started going on a rampage, and instead of jumping from one to another, he just ran through them, and took out one after the other, leaving not much to do for his 2 siblings, and especially the Chunin, who was basically useless in the fight. For his efforts in defeating the mercenaries, as well as helping build the bridge much faster than they could have even expected, the bridge builder and all the other people who had helped in the bridge building, as well as the entire village, agreed to name their bridge the Great Naruto Bridge, as he had been the main reason this was even able to happen. Team 7 is greeted off, as they're seen as heroes by the entire village. Naruto is very happy at what he had accomplished, and saw that his reputation, no matter where he went, grew day by day in every situation that he was in. And the rest of the team was pretty happy, Sasuke being happy that they finally achieved their first mission, and it was going to be bumped up from a C rank to an actually B rank mission. It was definitely a mission that required at least a few Chunin, perhaps even multiple Jonin, so B rank was definitely fair, and Team 7 did get the payment for a B rank mission, which was pretty cool too. But then they quickly heard of the Chunin exams by Kakashi one day later after they had finished their mission, as he had asked them to participate, and of course they all agreed. He saw much potential in them, and they could easily upgrade the rank to Chunin, and at least in a few months, or maximum a year, perhaps even Jonin. They definitely had the potential, and if they just honed their skills a little more, they could definitely even outmatch him. Team 7 now has about 2 weeks to prepare for the Chunin exams. Not much training is necessary, as the Genin are already far above the power of the Chunin, but they still do some training, but actually enjoy their time off. They had quite a bit to do the last few weeks, finishing the academy, starting their D-rank mission, and then having their first actual hard mission. It was quite the roller coaster, and now they have a little time to just sit back and relax. During this time, they actually see Konohamaru being bullied by some Genin from the Sand Village. Naruto rushes there as he tries to break up the conflict, of course him being well befriended with Hiruzen, therefore also his grandson Konohamaru. Kankuro, the one mainly bullying Konohamaru, feels superior to Naruto and doesn't even know who Naruto is. However, before their conflict continues, Naruto gets a weird tingling. He senses a boy in a tree next to him. This boy was Gaara. "Come out," Naruto says, simply asking to see whoever is there. Gaara jumps up from the tree he was on and is now standing on a branch. You can sense me. If you're wondering how Gaara is alive, well, long story short, Madara, after becoming, well, a grandpa again, had enough love inside of him to use his Rinnegan abilities to actually revive all the Jinchuriki that were killed when taking the tailed beast away from them by Obito. Now, the way he did this was with Rinne Rebirth. But Madara found a way that even though his body was very weak, using this ability would not kill him. And he was able to use a Genjutsu for the people that were affected to not remember anything of how they'd been kidnapped by Obito and Madara. Gaara still has the slightest, faintest bit of Shukaku's power. Now, this is so little that a regular Uzumaki has much more chakra than this version of Gaara does. Any proficient chakra user has more chakra than this Gaara. This amount of Shukaku's chakra is really super little. It's less than 1% of the tailed beast. It's almost negligible, but it does keep him alive, even after the Rinne Rebirth. This is so little chakra that Gaara can't talk, sense, or even feel the tailed beast, because it's not actually even there. It's just chakra, not the actual tailed beast. The only thing the chakra actually affects is, well, a tiny bit, making Gaara able to use more and bigger jutsu, and it does affect his and jutsu and make them a little bit better, but really that's it. Now, Gaara is still a pretty good, and whilst he's not as good as in canon, Gaara is still a far above average Genin. He was trained by the Kazekage and many others, and has honed his sand abilities, so he's not to be left alone. He's just not as freaky as you know him. Anyways, Naruto demands Gaara's name as he gives it to him. Then Naruto introduces himself back and says that they want no trouble. Kankuro is annoyed but doesn't speak up, as Tamario goes forward, shakes Naruto's hand, and then they part ways, saying, "I'm sorry about my brother's actions, it won't happen again. Thank you." Tamario's polite, as she did think that Kankuro overreacted, but especially when Gaara didn't have any negative feelings towards Naruto, she accepted him as a person. Gaara, even though he wasn't influenced by a tailed beast, was not very happy most of the time, so when he liked a person, a stranger, it was pretty rare. And Tamari mostly had to look out for both of her siblings, especially Gaara. Anyways, that was it for the 2 weeks. Now, we cut to the beginning of the actual Chunin exams. The first exam is pretty similar to canon, and at the same time, pretty boring actually. However, it is to be noted that Naruto is able to answer most of the questions, getting 7 out of the 9 questions correct, even though they were extremely difficult, and of course sticking around for the 10th question to pass the exam. Sasuke got 1 of the questions right, which isn't bad, but could be better, and Suki got 3 of them right, which is pretty good. After seeing Naruto's extensive knowledge, Sasuke and Suki did quite a lot of reading as well, hence their entire team became very, very smart. Then, after Anko jumps through the window and explains that everyone should go to the Forest of Death where they would have their second exam, they do so. She explained a little bit that each one of them will get a scroll, or rather each team will get a scroll, and they have to get the counterpart scroll, either the heaven or the earth, whichever the opposite one is that they get, and then go to the tower in the middle of the forest to pass the exam. Just one thing, they would be fighting other Genin teams to get the scrolls. So unlike a completely written solo exam, this one would actually have some fighting and would not be too peaceful. Kiba kept asking stupid questions, which is why Anko threw a kunai right past his cheek, making him bleed a little bit. A mysterious figure was the one who picked up the kunai again, smacking its lips in a weird way, making Kiba feel more uncomfortable than he's ever been before. Anko thanks the creature for giving back the kunai, and then the second exam of the Chunin exams begins. Naruto's team, who he has now officially become their leader, doesn't need to exchange any words or even any hand signs of communication. They already know exactly what their strategy is going to be, as they discussed it much earlier, in the days before, and even a few minutes whilst on their way to this battle. Well, not actually a battle, just a training ground, but they were pretty excited anyways. Naruto led his team directly towards the tower, and then waited in the bushes for other teams to arrive, especially picking up the weaker ones that they might be able to fight, though first they would gather intel and information in the battlefield. They didn't want to sustain any injuries and wanted to fight this tactically. However, even before this exam, they had already seen some rather weaker teams than the others, and had already made some plans that if they ever encountered those teams, it'd be on. After about 3 minutes of waiting, they encountered the same person that they encountered before. This weird looking girl, who resembled more of a snake than a human, approached them, alone. It was more terrifying than any other Genin team they could face. "Come with me, Naruto." Naruto didn't know how to respond to this, so he went into a fighting stance in case this became a battle, which could definitely happen, but the girl just continued to smile, not adding on to anything that was said before. "Who are you, and what are you doing here?" Sasuke yelled. "Shut up, lowly boy. I'm here for him, not you." Naruto was much more famous around the world, and Sasuke was. It wasn't anything that special about Sasuke. He wasn't the last Uchiha, and Naruto just had better feats. People were just more aware of his power, as there was just more power that Naruto possessed in comparison to Sasuke. So Orochimaru picked up Naruto for a possible body for himself rather than Sasuke or even Suki. Out of spite, Sasuke used a fireball jutsu, but the girl didn't move, dodge, or even block the attack. However, when she was visible once more, her face started to crack, turning into a man's face, and his long tongue hissed at Team 7, who all now prepared for a fight. "One last time, who are you?" Naruto demanded. "I am Orochimaru. You might have heard of me. But if there's anything negative about me, well, that's not me." Orochimaru, huh? I've known you for quite a while. My grandfather told me about you. You disgust me. Haha, your grandfather. I'm not exactly sure who that might be, but if he knew me personally and survived it, well, that's something, I guess. Anyways, will you take up my offer now? Let me think. No. Ready? As Naruto turned to both of his teammates, and they all nodded. All three of them went in for a fight. The brother and sister duo on either side of Orochimaru, and Naruto beating him down from the front. With a godly level of taijutsu, Orochimaru quickly understood that he was not to underestimate. Naruto and the entire team of 7. As Orochimaru slowly started to get more serious in this fight, so did the Genin, as they all activated their Sharingan now, which was truly a sight to behold. 3 Sharingan users, all beating down one single man. And yes, that man might be a Sannin, yet 3 Sharingans? That's quite something to defend against. Orochimaru was being bombarded by Cake's punches, as well as some of Naruto's shadow clones, some fire jutsu from Sasuke, and some slashes of kunai from Suki. All deadly attacks. Orochimaru, when he got a breath of fresh air, summoned his snake, which allowed him to get some distance between the Genin and himself, but Naruto quickly closed the gap with his impeccable speed, and then single-handedly started fighting Orochimaru, as his 2 teammates fought the snake, though that shouldn't take too long. Naruto continued to put a lot of pressure on Orochimaru, and he kept trying to put some distance between them, using earth-style mud walls, trying to catch Naruto in earth prisons, trying to even push Naruto away with something that he made himself, using wind element to push people away. Yet none of it seemed to work against Naruto. Even when using the substitution jutsu, or seemingly falling through the ground and appearing somewhere else, Naruto always kept fighting and never stopped, throwing a barrage of punches and kicks. He was agile and quick, a deadly combo for any solo to take on. And now both of Naruto's teammates can help him. However, Orochimaru is quote-unquote done with playing around, as with the short 1 second that he got for himself, he does a summoning jutsu. But this time, not an actual summoning jutsu, it's actually a reanimation jutsu, a summoning of the dead. A jutsu that he perfected, or rather is continuing to perfect, which was created by the second Hokage himself, a creator of many jutsu. 2 coffins were able to get out, but not the third one, which had Minato Uchiha in it. But the first 2, Naruto wasn't able to stop. By the way, the third one, Naruto used wood style, as he wasn't a forest after all, to push down the casket into the ground that it came from. However, the other 2, he would have to take on, and the caskets broke open, revealing the first and second Hokage of the Leaf. The 2 Senju brothers, 2 god of shinobi, extremely powerful ninja. With a quick order of Orochimaru, both of them, however, instead of fighting Naruto, rushed to Sasuke and Suki to distract them from the actual fight, leaving Naruto and Orochimaru in a one-on-one fight, as it should be. However, Naruto was not going to do anything half-assed anymore. Now, he was truly going to use much more of his power, as now on his hand, there are multiple marks, each one a different color. This was a sign of all of the tailed beasts working at the same time, giving Naruto chakra, abilities, and wisdom. Naruto was now using at least a part of each one of the tailed beasts' power combined, which boosted his power from his previous self, which was about a Jonin level, to now being a high Kage. Remember, this is still in the Chunin exams. But that would not be enough, as now his eyes started swirling into a Mangekyo Sharingan, an eternal Mangekyo Sharingan to be exact. And the trees around the area started deforming, as Naruto's wood style was basically taking over the whole forest area without him having to use any hand seals. The jutsu were working for him. He wasn't making any jutsu, he was controlling the elements itself. Orochimaru was greatly intimidated and did not expect this at all, yet he still had the will to fight and still thought he could take him on. now even more wanting his body after realizing the immense power that a Mangekyo Sharingan could give him, as well as this weird chakra that he just had, though Orochimaru wasn't sure what it is. And of course, wit style. That's not to mess around with either. But having that as my body? Now that's delicious. Naruto put one foot in front of himself, as the next thing Orochimaru saw was Naruto disappearing and appearing right in front of him. A quick dash that allowed Naruto to disappear from the eye of anyone watching. His speed was too much to even comprehend. And before Orochimaru knew what was going on, Naruto decked Orochimaru in the face, knocking him back 10 meters, about 30 feet if you're American. But Orochimaru stood up from that, and now had a true grin on his face. Orochimaru's grin was like none other. He hadn't grinned like that in a long time. He had a battle sensation. His shinobi instincts were activated for the first time in a while, and he was excited to fight. Orochimaru stood up from the dent that he made, falling on the ground, being hit by Naruto. But then seeing this, Naruto actually started smiling too. He has a worthy opponent. This could become an interesting fight. Though before he actually goes in for an actual fight, he just looks around real quick to notice that his two teammates are almost done with their fight, so he can finish what he now started and continue his interesting fight. So he doesn't have to worry about his teammates. "Let's do this!" Naruto yelled, tightening his headband, and now going into battle. Naruto dashed forward to Orochimaru once more, trying to punch him in the stomach. And whilst the punch did land, Orochimaru doesn't go flying. He kind of blocks it, but at the same time, it hits pretty hard. Orochimaru tries to backhand kick Naruto in the neck, though he dodges it and pushes Orochimaru's feet with his leg, making him fall temporarily before he can catch himself. But Naruto uses a Mangekyo Sharingan ability, one that he has in the story, which is Amaterasu. Yes guys, he does have it. It starts burning away at Orochimaru's body, but after a few seconds of crawling on the floor, Orochimaru is able to make a copy of himself that crawls out of his own mouth. Very disgusting in my opinion, but hey, it is what it is. He is a snake after all. Naruto saw that Orochimaru actually planned for this and was about to use a technique that immobilized Naruto's legs, as Orochimaru was mere centimeters away from Naruto's foot, so he could easily attack it. Naruto noticed this just in time as he activated his Rinnegan, pushing Orochimaru back completely. Multiple meters, multiple feet times 3, if you're American, throwing Orochimaru at a tree with his back aching and blood oozing out of his mouth. Orochimaru really isn't sure what to do at this point, as he calls for backup for Kabuto and the sound team, for anything at this point is useful. He's not completely dead per se yet, but he isn't exactly sure what to do and how to win this fight. The normal techniques aren't working, and Naruto is very smart and just incredibly powerful. His speed is unmatched by anyone. And even Orochimaru's variety in jutsus aren't coming close to doing anything to Naruto. His mere dojutsu are enough to hold him off. And Naruto's chakra aura keeps increasing and increasing, and the area around them keeps morphing along with it. The floor gets warmer and warmer. Some parts, especially that where Naruto steps on the ground, turn into red rocks, then liquefy to some extent, and when he stands on them for more than a few seconds, they turn into actual lava. This is the magma release Naruto achieved from the Four Tails. The forest area is being manipulated by his wood style, which he got from Hashirama and perfected along with the tailed beasts, but isn't any Kekkei Genkai from the tailed beasts. Now he's using a much weaker version of Kurama's chakra cloak, as he's using a mixture of all tailed beasts' chakra cloak basically, and is not just using Kurama's, but he's using his influence, if you want to call it that. He's using wind of Kokuo, completely changing the air around him, using flame release from Matatabi the Two-Tailed, which makes everything he touches with his hands turn into blue flames, and if it's anything even remotely flammable, it'll be vaporized by the sheer heat of the blue flames, as they're much, much hotter than any other flame. Now back to the fight, where Naruto is waiting for Orochimaru to approach him one last time, as he thinks that he already won the fight, which to some extent he did. But it was at this point that Kabuto arrived, along with the 3 sound genin. The genin aren't that important, though Kabuto could potentially do something. First, he tries to heal Orochimaru, which Naruto lets happen, as he wants an even fight. He has no will to defeat an injured opponent, so he's waiting for Orochimaru to be healed, and Kabuto appreciates this, nodding to Naruto, though at the same time being terrified, his knees clattering, shaking, and him barely even able to do jutsu properly due to the sheer emotions that are rushing through him. He's scared, he's afraid, he's stressed that something might happen to him, and he feels like he's being killed by 1,000 shinobi due to Naruto's bloodlust and killer intent. Now Naruto is being felt throughout the entire village, as all the trained shinobi are getting a weird sensation in their bodies, and the experienced ones feel like they're back on the battlefield of the 3rd Shinobi War. The 3rd Hokage doesn't know how to feel about this, as he hadn't been in an actual battlefield for quite a while. He is pretty old after all. But all the Jonin that we know and love, Might Guy, Kakashi, Kurenai, Asuma, and so on, well, they feel like they're about to get sneak attacked and have to resist and fight, though no one's actually even close. By the way, yes, they're still in the scrolls of their genin teams, to open the scroll once their genin teams get to the tower of the 2nd exam, if that makes sense. But they can still feel the outside world, as anyone, even nearby, even a little bit outside Konoha, can feel Naruto. He's just on a whole different level. And his output, the amount of chakra and other things, such as killing intent as well, that he's outputting is on that level of a tailed beast, if not even higher than that. The Anbu are on high alert, all the shinobi are ready for the fight of their lives, and to have the Nine-Tails attack, the Night of the Nine-Tails attack happen once again, this time perhaps even worse, and everybody's completely on edge, though the Hokage tries to control the situation. He dispatches all 4 of the Anbu teams that are currently prepared, and sends them near the source of this chakra output, which is somewhere in the battle, somewhere in the Forest of Death. They don't exactly know where, as there's just so much chakra, it's hard to identify exactly where Naruto is, or rather where this person or thing is, but they just know where about it's at, so they make their way to go there. Meanwhile, now Orochimaru is finished being healed, and he tells Kabuto that there's no use in fighting, that they have to retreat somehow. However, he doesn't say this out loud, so he tells the 3 sound genin, to go and attack Naruto. They seem scared at first, but then one of them dashes towards Naruto, trying to use his hand to outmaneuver Naruto and try to break his limbs. That might get him a reward from Orochimaru. Perhaps he could become a higher rank in his army and get to more power and control, though that dream was shortly lived, as Naruto, with one quick flick of the finger, crushed this man's dreams, sent him flying into a tree, and knocked him out, almost killing him, but he held back. The other 2 genin are now angry and start going at Naruto too, though this time he doesn't even attack at all, not even a single finger is needed, as he dodges them, making them hate each other, which renders them completely useless in a fight for now, and they won't get up for a few minutes. Kabuto is standing as the last line of defense before Orochimaru, as he still needs to recover somehow. He hasn't recovered any of his chakra yet, and his physical wounds are barely healed at all. as Kabuto didn't have a long time and he was under severe stress. Naruto pulls Kabuto closer, as at the same time he pushes him away, though precisely talking, he's pushing Kabuto's arms and legs away, making him unable to hit Naruto, though at the same time pulling his body, his core, his heart, his chest towards him, meaning that Naruto is in full control, in more control of Kabuto's body than Kabuto is himself. And for a few seconds, Naruto lets Kabuto hover beside him, staring at Orochimaru, Orochimaru staring back, not knowing what the hell he's going to do now to get out of this predicament. Naruto's teammates are finally done with their battle, with each of the reanimation of one of the Hokage, as they look up at Naruto, who is fighting at a little bit of a higher ground, and they see what they think of as a god. It's unthinkable. Naruto is not a Jonin or an Anbu or a Kage anymore. Naruto is straight up a god. They imagine that this is what the Sage of Six Paths was once like, and now Naruto is here, doing the same thing, and then fighting Orochimaru, a Sannin, one of the strongest people in the entire world, known across all ninja villages as a rogue shinobi. However, deep down, even though yes, they might be very powerful, perhaps even a Jonin level of strength, they can't compete with that fight. They can't do anything. Fighting along Naruto in this kind of battle? That's more than just a dream. That's a wish. Wishful thinking that would never come true. Even in a genjutsu, that's not even a wish. It's just that unrealistic. Orochimaru, with his last bit of strength, tried to attack Naruto, though that failed miserably. Naruto, with a single hand, blocked all of Orochimaru's attacks, and kicked him in the stomach so hard he went flying once more, for not counting probably like the 5th time in this battle. As Orochimaru gets hurt more and more, Kabuto can't do anything else, as Naruto is tightening the grip on his Rinnegan on Kabuto, as he feels his bones being crushed, his ribs being pressed against each other, as Kabuto faints due to too much pressure on his brain and vital organs. Now Naruto slowly but surely walks over to Orochimaru, and with one final kick to the side of the head, completely knocks Orochimaru out in one battle as a 12-year-old, defeating Orochimaru like none other could, displaying power even unrivaled by a Hokage. Naruto now slowly but surely depowering, as his mind is still in a battle-like state. His body is slowly getting used to becoming normal once again, and suppressing his chakra, turning off his dojutsu, and just becoming normal again. He drags Orochimaru by the collar, leaves the Forest of Death, where he is met by 12 Anbu, which, even though Naruto is now about 10 times weaker and more suppressed than he was in his fight, are still shocked by Naruto. Even now, he's displaying an unrivaled amount of chakra by any prodigy, and he's only 12. Not sure what to do, they just follow Naruto's lead, as he was going to the Hokage's office anyways, dropping off Orochimaru for them to deal with him. Naruto once more puts on chakra cups that he made, this time not just with fire element or a different one, but with every single element to his disposal, even the tailed beast's element such as magma style, blue flame release, and more. This is an unbreakable chakra cuff that no one, even the trickster Orochimaru, can escape. And once he gets to the Hokage's office, Naruto makes sure to tell them that. And then he leaves, says goodbye, and without revealing too much information about their fight, goes back to the second round of the Chunin exams where he was actually participating in as a normal genin. Now Naruto meets up with his 2 genin again, and conveniently there is the scroll that the Sound Ninja had, so he takes their scroll, as now they can make their way to the tower in the middle of the Forest of Death. There, They are told that they still have 3 days to rest until the next exam or the next phase of the exams shall begin. Naruto was approached by many shinobi, including the Hokage, the village elders, a lot of Jonin, some Anbu, and just people who were curious. They were all wondering how and what Naruto did with Orochimaru. I mean, he was fighting at an incredible level after all, at such a young age. People were bound to ask questions. And it was at this time that he actually did reveal to the public that indeed he was the one and only Jinchuriki. The Jinchuriki of all-tailed beasts. All-tailed beasts that have been missing ever since about 7 years now. All 9 of them, well, 8 if you exclude Kurama, who had already been gone since the night of the Nine-Tailed attack. But yes, Naruto indeed was the Jinchuriki of all-tailed beasts, and definitely displayed the power of that. Though now people are wondering if he was even a human, harboring all of the tailed beasts. Could he even be considered human? He wasn't like the rest of them, had insane chakra, had Kekkei Genkai that they'd never even heard of, and was basically immortal at this point. Could he truly be called immortal, or even especially a human? Naruto tried to keep his cool, but before he got much time to think, they were introduced to the semi-finals of the Chunin exams, as there had to be preliminary rounds due to the excess of participants. This means one-on-one fights, each one having one person to continue the round, one failing the Chunin exams. Now the fights were pretty similar to canon, as there were some minor differences though. Of course, Naruto, who still fought against Kiba, absolutely annihilated him, winning with a simple flick in the air that created enough wind pressure to push Kiba against the wall, knocking him out. That surprised everyone in the room, or rather the Genin, who hadn't even heard of Naruto's incredible accomplishment of defeating a Sannin yet. But even the Jonin, who had heard of his insane feat, were still shocked. He created that much power with a flick into the air. And he didn't even look like he was actually trying. That's insane. Then came Tsuki's round, who fought against Sakura. And, of course, I don't know if you know this, but Tsuki easily won, and she didn't even have to use anything remotely close to a sharingan. So with simple taijutsu, she annihilated Sakura. As, even if you like Sakura as a character, she's just not strong at this point, in comparison to the Uchiha, right? I hope everyone's okay with that, as there's a very split opinion in the fandom of Sakura. Some hate her, some love her. It really depends, but I hope everyone's happy with that. Anyways, now it was Sasuke's fight. Sasuke once again fought against the normal person that he fought in canon. However, he was no match for Sasuke here. Sasuke did not have the curse mark and had much more experience and training in the past 4 years of his life, which is why Sasuke didn't even have to use remotely any special powers and was simply able to win the fight, similar to his sister, with just a little bit of taijutsu, nothing else. So all of Team 7 is going to the finals pretty easily, and then the rest of the fights are pretty normal, just that the sound Genin aren't there, which just means that there's going to be extra characters instead of them that don't really matter, in this story at least. Now that everyone has gone through the process of the preliminary rounds between the second and the final exam of the Chunin exams, each one person that passed will have 1 month of training and recovery period until the finals of the Chunin exams begin, where there's going to be a huge audience and they're actually going to fight one-on-one matches similar to today, but in a huge arena, being watched and observed by many shinobi, civilians, politicians, and more. Before Naruto could leave with his 2 siblings, willing to celebrate the day, as they were now on to the finals, the Hokage called for him. Naruto told his two siblings to go on ahead without him, and he'd catch up to them pretty easily afterwards, laughing it off and then walking over to Hiruzen. Next to Hiruzen was standing a man. This man, one of the Sannin, named Jiraiya the Gallant. Hiruzen introduced Jiraiya to Naruto, and the other way around too, as he was saying that Jiraiya was Naruto's godparent, and actually his father's master, which intrigued Naruto. Of course, she knew Jiraiya as a historical figure, as he was pretty important in the Second Shinobi War, but she didn't really know him as family, so it was going to be interesting to get to know him more personally. But they were set to train, which kind of surprised Naruto, as Hiruzen himself saw many feats of Naruto over the months and years, of him being extraordinarily past any level of a Genin, Chunin, or even past the level of Jonin, as not too long ago, only a few days, he was able to defeat a Sannin after all. But that's exactly the reason that Jiraiya came. Jiraiya came knowing, or rather being informed now, that Orochimaru wanted to attack the Leaf Village, but Naruto stopped him, and Jiraiya just couldn't wait and wanted to see Naruto for himself. So over the next month, Naruto would spend a lot of time with Jiraiya, but also do some training actually. Now, Naruto blows Jiraiya's socks off, as everything that Jiraiya throws at him, Naruto has mastered. The Rasengan, boom. Chakra sealed, boom. Chakra control, boom. Everything. Even in sparring matches, Naruto was not too shabby, and if he actually went out, he would definitely win, Jiraiya thought, as Naruto had never gone full all-out mode against a fellow shinobi. However, Naruto did get the Toad summoning, as he didn't actually have any summoning yet, so that was a plus for him, though realistically he didn't need the summoning at all, but he got it anyways. And now we skip to the finals of the Chunin exams, as nothing interesting happened in this 1 month. Naruto enters the arena, as when he does, he sees the crowd cheering and yelling all over. They'd heard of Naruto and what he did, and many people came just to watch him fight. As before, they'd come for the two Uchiha, who were very strong, but now there was this candidate, possibly stronger than the other two, perhaps even a completely different level. Now the fights began like normal, and Sasuke was still late though. So first it was Naruto's fight. Naruto, fighting against Neji Hyuga, thought that this would be a really easy matchup, as he kind of had figured out what would happen if Neji actually activated his Byakugan, and it went like this. Naruto didn't go into any fighting position, as he knew he had already won the fight way before it started. Neji, after seeing Naruto's power in the preliminary rounds, was a little bit afraid and was in a fighting stance ready to attack, though then activated his Byakugan, which made him fall back and lose his concentration. What he saw was 9 different colored and differently positioned chakra sources inside Naruto, as well as his own, so in total 10 chakra sources, each one stronger than the last, altogether having so much power that Naruto should be exploding of energy. Neji, even though he was completely baffled, still tried his luck as he threw a barrage of punches with his Hyuga techniques, trying to attack these 10 chakra points, though that hope was quickly diminished as Naruto just dodged, not even using any of his fingers or anything, even going as far as tucking his hands behind his back, just focusing his eyes and moving his upper body. Naruto completely outmatched Neji, and then dashed towards him. Naruto completely outmatched Neji, and then dashed towards him and flicked him with his hand right in the stomach, sending him flying back 5 meters, about 16 feet if you're American, which knocked out Neji. And after just 2 seconds, medics were called in, Neji was escorted out, and Naruto declared the winner. Immediately, the crowd was cheering once more. Now, seeing even just a little bit of Naruto's power, they were amazed. The next few fights were very interesting too, but more importantly, Sasuke against Gaara, as Sasuke is very late, but Naruto, after being very annoyed at his brother, went to get him himself, as then Naruto brought Kakashi and Sasuke with him, as he did destroy their cool looking entrance, though that would have to do as Sasuke was about to get expelled, as you gotta remember in this version, the Kazekage is the actual Kazekage, not Orochimaru. So whilst there is still a lust to have Sasuke fight, it's not as big as Orochimaru wanting Sasuke to fight with Gaara, if you know what I mean. Now one thing I'm going to change about the story here is that the fight between Sasuke and Gaara is going to be changed once more, in that it is actually the fight between Sasuke and Rock Lee. Now once again it is because Gaara was basically nerfed, having the 9 one-tails being taken out of him, he lost quite a chunk of his power. Now don't get me wrong, Gaara is a strong fighter, but against 5 Gates Lee, he simply has no chance in this, as his cocoon of sand is not as strong, and his sand jutsu, while still very powerful, especially for his some bit lack of training, are very powerful, they're not even close to what they were in canon. So simply put, Lee won and now he's fighting against Sasuke. Now this fight starts off as everyone would expect, Sasuke activating his 3 Tomoe Sharingan and Lee activating no gates yet, but taking off his weights as he knew he wouldn't be able to fight normally, or rather normally being with weights on. Immediately the audience is baffled at the incredible weight of the weights, and then the fight begins as Lee is very fast. But Sasuke's mastery of the Sharingan allows him to keep up. Even if he's physically not as fast, his eyes are. So he's able to keep up. But then they both want to step it up. Lee now has to do something as Sasuke, whilst he is using quite a bit of chakra keeping up his Sharingan, he can still go on if he continues to fight like this for quite a while. So then Lee activates his first gate, and Sasuke uses his 3 Tomoe to the full ability that he can, being able to completely predict Lee's movements and try to make strategies on how to counter them in mere milliseconds. Now the fight arrived to a new level, as it is at least a Chunin level fight at this point. I'd say about mid Chunin to high Chunin if you really want to push it, but it's kind of between low and mid Chunin, realistically. But then things escalate even more, Lee stepping back for the 3rd time now, putting some distance between the two fighters. He activates 2 more gates, now being at the 3rd gate of the 8, shocking the audience as they know of this legendary technique. It is a forbidden technique, though it is known throughout the lands as the most powerful taijutsu technique to ever exist. But then Sasuke does something unthinkable and turns on his Mangekyo Sharingan, his eternal Mangekyo Sharingan, which he got from switching eyes with his sister, his twin sister Tsuki. Now the fight is definitely above a mid-Chunin level, as the audience can't wait for what's going to happen, and shinobi on the sidelines are actually thinking of putting up a barrier for the audience in case something happens, as if they continue to escalate like this, they're going to be fighting on Kage level soon. Of course, that's probably not going to happen, but still, this is going pretty insane at the moment. The audience can't look away, as every second something new seems to happen. However, Sasuke right now is completely outmatching Lee, as yes, the 2 gates did help him a lot, increasing his speed and power. Well, Sasuke has the eternal Mangekyo Sharingan, which is leagues above the normal 3 Tomoe. So now, Lee goes into the 5th gate. In his 5th gate, he is so incredibly fast that Sasuke is actually having trouble to keep up with his Sharingan. Yeah, his Sharingan can see a lot of things, but when Lee's moving this fast, it is a little bit hard. Now Sasuke uses his 2nd Chidori, as the first one was missed because of Lee's pure speed. This one almost hitting part of Lee's shoes, But then Lee is sick of it and activates his 6th gate. This is truly pushing him to the best that he can, as in this story he had 1 extra month of training, which might not sound like a lot, but it is a lot. Lee didn't get injured, so 1 month of training is 1 extra gate for him. So 6 gates Lee is now fighting against Eternal Mangekyo or Sharingan Sasuke, and it is truly at least a Jonin level fight at this point. It has to be. I mean, this is insane. At least some form of barrier is actually put up between the fighting area and the audience to protect them, as gushes of wind are coming to hit even the faces of the audience that are sitting quite a while away, just from the mere punches and kicks from Rock Lee. Naruto is intrigued at the fight, as he knows whoever wins this, Naruto will fight in the next round, and he's fine with either one, but he is interested to fight Rock Lee sometime. But at this point, Lee is simply too fast and too powerful for Sasuke to dodge, and when he blocks, well, Lee is so fast and strong that his punches and kicks carry enough weight to push Sasuke back multiple centimeters, a few inches if you're American. And at this point, Sasuke is actually losing. And I know what you're gonna say, Eternal Mangekyo Sharingan should easily win against 6 gates. But think about this. Sasuke is not gonna use something like the Amaterasu against Lee in the Chunin exam. And even if he would, 6 gates is very strong. I mean, you gotta think, 8 gates was able to compete with Jubidara. So 6 gates can probably compete with a level higher than canon Sasuke. Am I right or am I wrong? Well, I guess we'll see in the comment section. Anyways, now the fight is closing up, as Lee does have the overhand, and is slowly but surely pushing Sasuke into a corner, and then kicks him in the chest, throwing against a wall, making him bleed out of his mouth. And then it's an ease for Rock Lee to karate punch Sasuke in the back and the spine precisely to knock him out, not hurting any of his vital areas, as Rock Lee is an honorable fighter. And whilst Naruto isn't too happy that his brother got, well, defeated like this, he will likely still get the rank of Chunin for his incredible display of power. But he is excited to fight Rock Lee next, though what he sees next is shocking. A huge explosion is seen at the village gate, one so strong it annihilates the entire defense system of the village, allowing anyone to enter or leave the village as they please. Even a big chunk of the wall protecting the Leaf Village seems to be broken apart. It is truly alarming, and no one knows what's going on. So a whole bunch of shinobi dispatch and look to discover a horror. They see multiple rogue shinobi, each one with a cloak and red clouds on it. These are the Akatsuki. They've come to the village after discovering that the host of all-tailed beast lies within the village, and the Leaf Village has captured Orochimaru. Now, for a backstory of the Akatsuki. They didn't know that all-tailed beasts have been inside Naruto this whole time. Madara and Obito never told them. They just kind of abandoned the Akatsuki, so the Akatsuki was clueless. So after being formed, they took their path as usual. And now they've gathered here. After finding the tailed beast after so many years once again, they've come to the Leaf Village to extract it. And if need be, kill the host. Naruto immediately went to the village gates and stood on a roof, now looking at the Akatsuki. Naruto was terrified, seeing that there were 6 different people, each one with the Rinnegan. Are you the one we seek, child? So what if I am? What are you gonna do against that, huh? Naruto started mocking the members of the Akatsuki, yet they kept their cool. However, soon after, explosions continued to spread throughout the Leaf Village, which was weird, as there was the Akatsuki there, right in front of them, and they weren't doing anything. Right? Well, after looking into the sky, they faintly saw a bird made of clay with somebody, a yellow-haired man, standing on it, and throwing what seemed to be little birds out of his hands. This was Deidara, and the reason no one was able to see him before is that he used the sun to his advantage, blocking out everyone's vision so he could not be seen. Naruto immediately wanted to go to the bird and kill Deidara, though pain pulled him closer, leaving him no choice but to fight these Akatsuki first. The rest of the shinobi there were unsure of what to do and were waiting for something to happen, specifically for Naruto to do something, as they now saw him as their leader. He had proved to them that he was the strongest. And even if they didn't, what were they gonna do? Fight the Akatsuki on their own? So now, the Akatsuki and the Leaf Shinobi were at a stalemate. Meanwhile, Deidara was bombing their village. However, Naruto was gonna take it into his own hands, going to his Mangekyo Sharingan immediately, and first sending an Amaterasu wave towards Deidara, which almost hit him, but his bird was able to dodge it just in time. Then Kisame Hoshigaki rushed towards Naruto, but he was prepared, and kicked him in the face, making him turn 90 degrees, almost hitting the ground, yet he caught himself just before. Kisame was now standing back at where the Akatsuki were, and then Naruto jumped down from the roof of a building and stood face to face to all the Akatsuki, and then took a step forward and started running faster, faster, and faster. That was the sign for all other shinobi to follow him into battle, as the opposing side did the same thing, and a battle broke out, though the Akatsuki were easily defeating all the shinobi. But Naruto was not going to mess around and activated his Rinnegan, now opposing all the pains on his own. At this point, more and more shinobi of the Leaf Village rushed to the scene. However, they were being taken out just as fast. However, now the Uchiha came to play. 5 Mangekyo Sharingans flared, opposing the Akatsuki. Sasuke and Tsuki got their Sharingans from a Genjutsu, by the way, and then exchanged their eyes afterwards. However, Itachi, Shisui, and Fugaku, well, all of them got the real Mangekyo Sharingans. Mangekyo Sharingans earned in battle. And each one of them was strong. Very, very strong. They all rushed towards the left side of the Akatsuki team. This included Sasori, a ninja with untouchable poison, so strong it could take out a shinobi with a single touch. Konan, who had a mastery of paper release, an incredibly strong Konoichi, as well as Kisame, who was taking out shinobi left, right, and center. And they were an incredible team, Konan being able to hit ranged shinobis, Kisame taking out anyone who dared to get close, and Sasori having a lot of mobility, being able to control multiple bodies at the same time, as well as having poison, which would leave any shinobi, no matter how strong, in a death or near death state immediately. Shisui immediately, with his body flicker technique, tried to get to Konan as fast as possible and take her out, as not having a ranged opponent would be much easier for them. But Sasori almost got him by the head, and that would have been the end for Shisui, though Itachi was able to grab him by the arms and pull him back just in time. Itachi tried to use his Amaterasu, but Konan was quick enough to put a wall of paper in front of them, so the paper burned up, but not Sasori. And Kisame engaged in battle against Tsuki, Sasuke, and Fugaku. Meanwhile, the Battle of Rennegans was happening in the center, and was destroying anything in sight or nearby. Anything, even shinobi. However, Naruto was at a disadvantage as he was fighting against 12 Rinnegan eyes, only having 2 himself. However, then his tailed beast powers unlocked. However, this was a little bit different than the time when he fought Orochimaru. This time, his chakra cloak unlocked, not his chakra elements and Kekkei Genkai. First 1 tail, then 2, then 3, then 4, then 5, then 6, then 7, then 8, and 9. But it didn't stop there. It continued, and it went to 10 tails. This making him a lot stronger. Now he rushed to the pains, flinging each one away with a single punch, and holding them out of the fight for a few seconds, but then they recovered and came back for more, as they weren't real, alive humans after all, so it was a little bit difficult to keep them at bay. However, unknowing, Naruto was slowly but surely exhausting Nagato, the real pain's chakra, and he was not doing so well. However, in the same time, Deidara was killing civilians and even some shinobi. As they couldn't really get to him, and standing underneath Deidara, well, they were bombarded from the sky. Deidara now was heading towards the arena where many people had gathered and was about to bomb the whole place. However, the shinobi of Konan were not going to let that happen, as the Anbu immediately put up a very strong barrier, and Hiruzen himself used all 5 elements, as he could control all 5 elements. He used all 5 elements to make a barrier with each one that should hopefully protect them from Deidara's explosions. And they did, though damages to the barriers were severe, and the same thing, without protecting them once more, would not likely survive. Now in his fight, Naruto was definitely overwhelming the pains. However, one pain managed to escape and was now helping Kisame to overwhelm the 3 Uchiha that he was fighting. That allowed Kisame and that pain to help defeat Itachi and Shisui, and that would hopefully allow those 3, or 4 if you're counting the pain, to help all the other pains defeat Naruto. As right now, Naruto would definitely destroy the pains, so something had to be done. Now, first overwhelming the 3 Uchihas, well, this was kind of easy. The 2 children were easily overwhelmed with Samehada, who was able to absorb a lot of their chakra, rendering them unconscious, at least for now. Fugaku, who was a little more agile, was harder to get, though with pain pulling him to Samehada, he was dealt with pretty easily as well. Then to Itachi and Shisui, both powerhouses, and extremely fast, as well as masters of the sharingan. This was much harder. However, Sasori, Konan, and Kisame all fighting them at once, as well as at least part of the power of the Rinnegan. Konan was able to trap Itachi, and the Rinnegan of pain pulled him closer. Meanwhile, Sasori was keeping him at bay, and if he ever decided to break out the prison, which he definitely could, or burn it with Amaterasu or anything else, even just a fireball jutsu, Sasori would penetrate the prison and hit Itachi with his poison. So now there was just Shisui to worry about. However, Shisui was fast, even faster than Itachi. However, they were able to eliminate him when 2 of the pains that were actually fighting Naruto took a little bit of time of their battle and pushed Shisui towards the others. With the other pain pulling closer, Itachi was prisoned, and Shisui was now not able to run away from the power of 3 Rinnegan users. And if you're wondering how all Rinnegan users at this point, all pains, can use the universal pull ability, as well as the almighty push, well, they kind of just can. I mean, no, but in honesty, Madara absorbed more Hashirama cells from the past and was able to give some to Nagato, as he thought that there's no way a normal person could control the might of the Rinnegan, which is why he did actually use some Hashirama cells. Hence, the pains are much stronger each individually, so that kind of makes sense. But even with that, they were not strong enough, and Nagato could never control the Rinnegan to perfection. Hence, all the pains were not strong enough to defeat Naruto. Naruto now using all elements and all Kikigenkai that he possessed. None of the pains were even a close match to Naruto. But just for the extra, Naruto went back once more before completely diminishing hope of the Akatsuki and summoned something. Not any animal like any other shinobi would, because Naruto is simply a beast. He summoned a human. He summoned, and at the same time revived, Madara Uchiha. He used a reanimation jutsu to revive Madara, and Madara, in all his glory, took one look at Naruto, then looked back at the Leaf Village, and Naruto simply asked him to help, and that was enough. Madara did not need a paragraph-long explanation. Madara was simply going to protect the village his grandson chose to protect. Hence, he would fight. Madara, somehow, was revived with 2 Mangekyo Sharingans, as Naruto had perfected the reanimation jutsu even before Orochimaru could, as he learned it from Madara, who had learned it from Tobirama himself. However, Madara experimented on it and came close to perfection. But Naruto was the one to finally, actually perfect it. Hence, he could revive anyone, and those who had dojutsu, he could give them their dojutsu, without actually having it himself. So now, grandfather Madara and grandson Naruto were fighting hand in hand to defeat one Akatsuki after the other. Naruto took care of the rest of the pains and annihilated them, then activating the Sage Mode that he had got, the Sage Mode that he had learned, which wasn't actually to a particular style like Toad Sage or Snake Sanin. It was simply just Sage Mode, which absorbed natural chakra nature style. It wasn't any animal or summoning, it was just Sage Chakra. However, that doesn't mean it was weaker. In Naruto's hands, it was a weapon of destruction, boosting his chakra even more than it already was. And then they defeated the Pains, then went on to defeat Kisame, who is currently Shisui. Shisui was on his last straw, but then, with Naruto and Madara helping him, they were able to push the Akatsuki back, and now freed Itachi, and those 4 were able to annihilate Konan, Sasori, and Kisame and defeat all of them. However, then they moved on to harder targets, but not before first sending Madara to defeat Deidara. Then Naruto, Itachi, and Shisui went on to defeat Kakuzu, as they found their secret pretty easily, and mass shot Amaterasu's at individual of his hearts, Naruto pulling and pushing him through the air, and even used a kunai to stab him through his last heart, defeating him completely. But then Hidan, well, he was tricky. They weren't able to defeat him, however they found a way to use their Amaterasu, and used multiple on his bodies, so that yes, he did regenerate, and yes, he stayed alive, though there was nothing he could do, as his excruciating pain was simply too much to even stand, and his chakra was at the last resort. So they kind of defeated Hidan. And then they went on to fight Deidara. Deidara was still up in the sky, as Madara could not use a meteor to bring down to Earth, as, well, it would kind of destroy the Leaf Village, so he couldn't really use it against one opponent. He tried using Flame Jutsu as he flung them high in the air, but Naruto was sick of this, as with his mastery of the elements, he made simple stepping stones through the air, as yes, they were falling, but Naruto, with his strength in his legs, was able to stand on them and jump up each step, up, until he finally reached Deidara, clung to the bird's wings, and then stabbed it through the heart, ripping it open, and then Deidara fell to the ground, as well as Naruto. However, Naruto was able to spiral the air, and then at the very bottom, a lake, into stopping his fall, and made him slowly lose his speed of falling. However, Deidara landed face first on the water, which was as hard as concrete, falling from so high. Deidara, well, we don't need to explain what happened to him. He was eliminated. And now there were simply just small fries of the Akatsuki, which were easily defeated. Hence, the Akatsuki were no more, and then the rest could be explained to Madara by Naruto. Of course, everybody, including the Akatsuki, was hurt. Well, the Akatsuki was completely destroyed. However, Black Zetsu was still there. Black Zetsu, though, Madara knowing what Black Zetsu was up to, Madara told Naruto, as Naruto was incredibly good at sensing chakra, and the tail piece boosted that ability, Naruto was able to sense where Black Zetsu is even when he was suppressing his chakra, and then they were able to body flicker over there and eliminate him immediately, forever, for Kaguya to never be revived, ever again. Now, Naruto explained his entire life to Madara, how he had been such a great grandfather and has led him to happiness. Naruto introduced Madara to the entire village, especially the Uchiha clan, and everyone seemed happy. And Naruto was hailed as a protector and a leader of the world. He had protected the world, and even brought back Madara, and Madara was actually able to stay in the Leaf Village half alive for quite a while. The village accepted him back after realizing and learning the entire story. However, he was kept under close eye for a while, but after a few months, he was let go and was able to live with Naruto normally. And the village was happy. It was a peaceful time for the entire world. All villagers seemed to be happy. And then it turned even better. Naruto, when he reached the age of 16, was announced to Hokage. Hiruzen was getting very old, hence Naruto was elected as Hokage as they didn't take Tsunade as the 5th, so Naruto became the 5th Hokage at such a young age, and was an incredibly good leader. That's gonna be it for today's video and the series. Hope you enjoyed. Make sure to like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace!